G'day and welcome to On The Esky, Australian sports podcast, where we like to wrap up the week that was in sport, drink a few Mark's Stubby Taylors, and dribble on about the big stories that occurred this week. On today's show, international cricket is well and truly back. We have Australia in Sri Lanka, England, New Zealand Test Series. India has a game against South Africa. Well, they've played their first game, I should say. The weeks that were in the local footy codes in the NRL and the AFL. Big win for Queensland in the state of origin. We'll discuss that in depth. NBA Finals, Celtics Warriors, Desmond Tutu at the moment, tied up going into Game 5. International soccer must win for the Socceroos this week to get into the World Cup against Peru. Plus a big final round. We have the UFC 275 in front of us right now. We'll be talking all things fighting, F1, and a little bit of tennis and golf sprinkled in there. Please remember, we have timestamps on YouTube. If you want to skip to the sports that you like, you can. Or if you're nuts for all things Esky, just watch the whole damn thing. There's subscriptions that you can get into, etc., etc. Like we always do, we start off the show by shouting a beer. And there's 4 of us here on the table today. The babies have been showered. There's been a showering of babies. And it's good to have our good friend Steam. You've seen him on the podcast before, the Adelaide correspondent, the AFL expert, and cricket nuffy, and all things sport, Patriots fan, etc., etc. Can you kick us off with your shout of beer, and how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing well, fellas. My shout of beer is to you lads. This is, in on a few weeks ago, you talk, if you give it out, you've got to be able to take it back, and you've given yourselves a few mops in that spirit. But then it occurred to me, you've given out plenty of beers and shout a beer, but you've never got a beer back. So I'm going to shout you these Pirate Life SA beers, so you can enjoy them on me today.
And shout out to Pirate Life. If you're looking to sponsor an up-and-coming Australian sports podcast, please get at us in the comments. Thank you, Steam. That is something that we've never had on the podcast here before, is shouting ourselves a beer. I tend to do it without really
any prompting. It's nice to formalise these things once every now and then.
Cheers, mate. Nice to have you on board. And,
get me out of a baby shower, so I'm happy to be here.
Sipping on a nice cold Pirate Life. Monks, that's it. On my right, we have the fastest research man in the Southern Hemisphere, allegedly, when he's on.
Depends on the day of the week, yeah.
Who would you like to shout a beer? And all the best with your pronunciation here.
Yeah, not too easy. You mentioned when I was on a Bucks party last night, so it might be a little bit dusty today, so we'll see how quick the fingers can go.
The voice sounds a little hoarse.
With the typing.
We had karaoke last night.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like 4 hours.
What's the go-to song?
Actually the song choice there was a wide range. There was a few suspect ones there. Somehow Britney Spears came up a couple of times.
Hit me bunky one more time.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, right.
Couldn't get past a few of the power ballad classics like
Katy Perry, Firework, Taylor Swift, Mean, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think Horses was on there a few times as well.
Oh, good stuff. Good.
Yeah. Shout a beer. So this week I am shouting Joanna JJ Trek a beer. I almost got that.
I'll give you a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10 there.
Breaking, I guess, really today. A few minutes ago, she retired from the UFC. We'll probably talk a little bit more about the fight later on in the potty, but just wanted to shout her a beer on a pretty stellar career, sort of one of those pioneers, one of those forefront for women's UFC fighters.
Definitely, yep.
Back in the day. She ended a professional career 16-5 of 21 matches. Won the strawweight belt back in 2014. And then, defended it through to about 2018.
That's impressive.
And she was 14-0, so she had 5 losses in her career. So it's really only been in the last few years in her career where she's been. She lost twice to Thug Rose, and now hot off the press twice to Zhang Weili.
That's it. Yeah. Sorry, she debuted UFC strawweight in 2014, won the belt in 2015 against Carla Esparza.
Yep. Current champ.
Yep. That's it. Had a bit of an unlucky run lately with losses to Shevchenko and now Weili twice.
Her only losses that's a real killers.
Yeah, the top end of the
champions.
They're
all champions, aren't they?
Exactly right.
Stellar career. Would like to wish her all the best for the next stage in her life, and hopefully she can now enjoy a few alcoholic beverages now she's not training.
Well, and speaking of the next stage in her life, she said she wants to be a mother. She wants to get into business. She's been training for 2 decades, and she had the symbolic dropping of the gloves and leaving them in the octagon. Congrats on a stellar career.
Given it all she's got.
Joanna Jedrzejczyk? Nah, I think I fucked that as well. Anyways,
on to Sean.
There's a lot of letters in there, and it's a Polish name. Good on you, JJ. Shauno of fucking up people's names fame. How are you?
Very good. For my shadow, my shadow beer this week, I decided to cover a sport that we love to cover, being the NHL.
Hockey.
Know heaps about it.
Yeah, so much.
much.
Sean will name the entire Colorado Avalanche's roster right now off his head.
I will struggle with 90% of the names. So, but yes, Colorado Avalanche is the guys I want to shout out. The Avs, they swept the Oilers to make it to the Stanley Cup final. I think they've been the number 1 seed the last 3 years running.
Yep.
This is the first time in that span that they've made it back into the big one. They take on the Tampa Bay Lightning, who won it. Did they win last year?
They won 2 in a row.
They've won the last 2.
So they're going for the 3-peat, although I think the New York Rangers are giving them a little bit of...
Oh, they won today. So
problem.
So they've won that series 4-2 today, I believe.
Okay.
They're in.
Yep.
So they're in. So
confirmed.
Monkeys, Tampa Bay Lightning up against my Colorado, Denver Avalanche.
Well, is it no coincidence that when Brady went to Tampa, suddenly there's just championships down there?
Well,
that's it.
Champa.
That mentality.
Russell's in Denver, and our Avalanche are in the final. So there we go.
Brady's out there deflating the puck, and Bill's out there spying on the opposition. Fucking thugman. I don't even know how thugman. That's a position now in ice hockey. The thugman.
Impressive to sweep in a conference finals, isn't it?
Twice. So
conference finals in the second round.
Yeah, they've been playing some elite hockey. In that last game, they came back as well. I think they were down 5-2, and they came back, tied it up, and then won in overtime. So,
and you're going to give us a nice analytical breakdown of how they did that and how they implemented hockey strategy better than the other.
And that's hockey for this week on OTE.
It was stick, puck, net, goals, ice. Yes, ice.
They scored more than the other team.
That's how you win.
Anyway, the Stanley Cup, the finals, the series will kick off in the next week.
Very good.
Coming up.
Good.
From a sport that we're not qualified to talk about to a sport that we're not qualified to talk about. I will be.
I think we're more qualified to talk about this one. We just don't.
I wasn't going to say no. If you understand the ins and outs of the breakdown, and
they are both on free to air in equal amount.
Oh yeah, true that. I am of course talking about rugby of the 15-man union variety. The local heroes. ACT Brumbies went down in a nail biter last night to the Auckland Blues, 20-19. Did not watch it. I was a bit all showered yesterday.
I was in-laws' place, saw it on, actually.
Yeah, really?
They were, I think it was 20-7 at half, and the Brumbies were coming back.
There's a yellow card fiasco?
Towards the end, I know their 2 tries they scored were rolling mauls, so that seemed to be the strength that they were playing to. But, 1 try scored out wide, missed the conversion, and then obviously went down by a point. And there was a late Blues charge down attempt at field drop goal. That saved them. Who knows if it was going in or not, but charged it down, and Blues win the day.
So close, but so far there won't be any Australian winners of the Super Rugby this year. Check that out on Stan Sport if you have that, unlike any of us. Mop of the week, Steam. You're here. You've shouted us a beer. I might get you to hand out your first mop. Would you like that award?
Yeah, I'll do this with honours, and because I'm going to give it to the Melbourne Demons because they've got some cleaning up to do. They need a mop. Infighting between some of the players this week, Stephen May and Jake Melksham, possibly some others who were there at the dinner, but those 2 have definitely be named and identified. Stephen May getting on the beers when he was in concussion protocol, so that's mop behaviour number 1.
Maybe he forgot he was in protocols and then got a beer.
Second mop behaviour was there's a bit of banter going around between the boys Of course, Demons breaking their long premiership drought last year, but some were in the team, some weren't. Melksham was one of those ones who, the unlucky ones, not in the team. And may seem to suggest that even though they won by 70 points in the grand final, they might have lost if Melksham had have played. He didn't take to that too kindly. A bit of rough and tumble, and now he's got a hand injury.
Yeah,
so that's some more mock behaviour.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the AFL Integrity Unit's going to do a bit of a investigation into what might have been happening there. So, yeah, wheels getting a bit wobbly for the Demons. They 2 weeks ago looked undefeatable.
Yeah.
2 losses in a row, and now some moppery.
Yep. Book your grand final tickets, Carlton fans versus Fremantle. Interesting, this one. It's obviously a little bit that's just been said at the pub between two blokes, probably having a few beers. I don't think, they're offside with each other by all reports. But yeah, an interesting sledge, isn't it? Saying that we would have lost a grand final if you'd played, and considering they won it by 70. So it's like giving a line to one player, under overs. So the line here for Jake Melksham's 71. I will see your 71, Jake Melksham, and I think I could play in there and I'll give up 91. I'll give up 91 points if you got me in there.
Up against big Tim English.
Tim English, yeah. He can bounce the footy. I can't bounce the footy. You see this week as well, Max Gawn came out that Heater Shaw was saying that he's never bounced the footy ever.
Well, if he bounces one tomorrow, maybe he gets a beer next week.
That's big time. Who Max Gawn would crush on the Esky shed a beer. Max Gawn, if you're listening.
Gus and Gorney, good podcast too as well. With, Angus Brayshaw and Maxie.
Very good, very good.
Maybe shout a beer, vice versa. Go both ways.
That's it. We'll go on their podcast, they come on ours, etc.
Equal standing.
Bloody hell.
Before you get into the cricket, do you want to just cover this, where we're at?
Yeah, so UFC 275, the co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko. The Bullet is taking on Talia Santos, and Santos was rank outsider in this one. From what we've seen, she's won 2, if not all rounds. So
yeah, quite possibly all 3. It looks like Valentine's better. So we're at the end of the 3rd round currently. So she's looked more like she's lifting in that 3rd, and I wonder if Santos will start to gas.
Championship rounds
coming up. Has wrestled the shit. It's been actually a really good grappling match between the two, but Santos winning most of those exchanges so far. We'd say she's probably 3 rounds ahead. Well, she's got a good shiner there, so definitely some shots are being landed, and she's sticking to her game plan, which is get away from the power.
And the champ's got all the work to do here in the championship round. Remember before the show, Sean, how we were saying the difference between Valentina Shevchenko and Valentine Holmes? Yeah,
that lasted long, didn't it?
That was a useless exercise. We'll see what happens here as it unfolds. But yeah, a few people probably stressing, I'd reckon, that if they chuck the house on Valentina at short odds here, I'll be interested to see how it unfolds.
She is good. Santos has got great size, but you can just see the more power coming out here, and yeah, just whether that'll start to wear down as we're in these championship rounds now. We'll see how they. Speaking of which,
the champ's throwing some nasty knees.
I think they're gonna. I don't think that's a legal strike. I thought they were going to check her eye more than anything, because that's starting to swell up and close. So,
imagine that you're up 3 rounds and if you get stopped.
I think she'd be right.
I think so too. She's fine.
Missing an eye poke. There's head clash. There you go.
Head clash.
Oh, right.
That's probably what caused the initial swelling. That happened in the previous round. That didn't happen in this round. But they checked it. She's all good. Yeah, back to hopefully not getting beaten up by Valentina here. I don't like her chances. Valentina is starting to look like she's lifting for this one.
Yeah, she doesn't look like she's been bashed for 3 rounds at all.
Not at all.
Happy to let Santos gas herself out and then go to work.
Now, let's talk some cricket. There may be a "oh" or "ah" for those that are watching the clip. Excuse us as we try to talk some cricket whilst watching UFC 275.
Who said men can't multitask?
Me, I really struggle with it. So the Australian cricket team is back in action. They've had 3 T20 internationals over there in Sri Lanka. They won the series 2-1 with Sri Lanka winning overnight in the 3rd dead rubber. let's go back to game one. It was a bit of a walk in the park for the Aussies, really. However, Sri Lanka got off to a good start. They were 1 for 100 and then lost an absolute capitulation of wickets, 9 for 28. Josh Hazlewood continuing his unreal form from the IPL. He had 4 for 16, including all that middle order collapse, and Mitch Stark contributing with 3 for 26. And then Warner and Finch just absolutely cruised. Australia winning by 10 wickets with 6 overs to spare. 70 not for Warner, 61 not for Finch. Steam, what happened to Mitch Stark? He gets split in this one. What happened?
I think he hit his own hand in his follow through while bowling, and so the spikes on his boot have sliced up.
Index finger?
I haven't seen pictures. Yeah,
I think it was down his index finger.
Yeah, sliced up his hand on his own boot. I think he's missed the last 2 T20 games, and I'm not quite sure how long he is expected to be out, but pretty.
I think I heard
interesting. How do you do that? Like, you kind of got to contort your body a bit while you're bowling to slice your own finger, but somehow he's done it.
I heard weak, and he got six stitches.
There you go.
Okay. Wishing him all the best, Monks. Have you seen? Yeah, index finger. It is interesting how you mentioned, the contorting of the body. I can see it happening, like the amount of rotation that these guys get and the follow through. Yeah, I can see how it could happen. But yeah, game one, an absolute breeze for the Aussies. Good to see Finchy making some runs. His form has been.
Sri Lanka don't have a left armer who can bowl in swingers. They started off bowling one of the spinners, so didn't have the big hooping swing into the pads. Started off with a nice little bit of spin bowling, so I think Finchy lapped that up.
Good on you, Finchy. I'm always in his corner.
He was actually named player of the series, which I think is a bit of a talking point. We'll get through the next 2 games and then we can chat about it. But
Game 2 was a bit of a closer affair, although not one for those that like high scoring games. Again, Sri Lanka batted first and just made 9 for 124. Charith Asalanka top scoring with 39. They were 2 for 7, and then Asalanka and Mendes scored a little bit, 30 odd for Mendes as well. And then the Aussies, they didn't do it as easily as they did in game 1. No one scoring more than man of the match Matt Wade with his runner ball 26. Now, let me give you a rundown of the Aussie bowlers that probably might have been a little bit stitched up here, if you will. Kane Richardson, he had 4 for 30, including 3 for 3 in the 20th over. You'd think 4 for 30 trumps 26 at a runner ball, wouldn't you?
Especially, I think his last 4 runs, the 4 runs to win the game, were an outside edge that went past the keeper. And so he was on 22 off 25 until that last 4. So
always plenty of that in my wagon.
You think a 4 for 30 where you've taken 3 in that all important 20th over, might be more worthy of a man of the match.
A little bit stiff there.
What about Jai Richardson taking blokes' heads off and then making them fall on their own stumps?
Yeah, you feel a bit bad. That was Kusal Mendes who got out. A bit of a bumper, and just lost control of where his bat was going, swung back around. And it reminded me, hit wicket, not a dismissal you see very often, but the last one that came to my mind was Adelaide Test match, Butler putting up
That's right.
a very resistant, very slow-moving, just anchored himself to the crease and eventually anchored himself too deep in the crease and stood on his own stumps. And again, that same bowler, Jai Richardson.
Yeah.
So...
well, maybe that's a testament to what Jai Richardson is doing and the pace that he's creating.
Pace and bounce.
Yeah, and the bounce and getting blokes, who normally, like a Joss Butler, eat pieces of shit for breakfast, forcing him back, in his crease. So maybe a testament to the wheels of Jai. And third game, overnight, Sri Lanka winning this one. I didn't catch any of this. I was looking at my eyelids. But Steve, you caught a little bit of the highlights at least?
So same fashion, all 3 games. The team that bat first lost the match. So Australia batted first. What they make exactly?
176.
5 for 176. Fairly even contribution. I think Smudge was the top scorer, finishing the innings 30. Oh no, Warner got 39.
39.
Smudge 37.
You
Not
got
out.
absolutely stitched up there. Smith 37, not Stoin 38, Warner 39.
So I did start off saying even contribution. So
Done very
Solid
well.
pass.
Done very well there.
so I think. Yeah, where we go. Yeah. So Sri Lanka in the run chase, they got to position about needing 60 off the last 4. So you think that's in the Aussies' favour. It was the Sri Lankan captain, Danush. No, I've done a Sean.
Go on then.
Dashan Shanaka.
Yeah, I'll pay that.
He was 6 off 12, finished up with 54 off 25. So he went absolutely ham. I think he got each of the bowlers. He got Richardson of the Jai and Kane variety and got Hazelwood as well. I think Hazelwood's first 3 overs went for 10.
Yeah.
He finished up with 2 for 25, so he didn't get belted. But Kane Richardson.
What about his side figures there?
Yes,
Poor
very
Kano.
different last over. Richardson given the 20th as he was in the second T20, bowled 3 wides, got smacked for a 6 and a couple of 4s. They needed 18 off the last over, got to 1 off the last ball, and he bowled a wide, and that was it. And so Sri Lankan skipper saw them home. Series finishes 2-1. And as I said, Finchy, who didn't get any man of the matches, I didn't think, got man of the series.
He had 29 last night. I'm just trying to chase up what he had there in game 2. Good. I think to see.
I probably would have said Hazelwood.
Yeah, I think that's fair as well.
Yeah. Probably the only thing, like, he didn't get any wickets in the second T20, but he was very economical. I think he did 0 for 16 off 4. So, 4 and over in T20 internationals.
People need to be talking about Josh Hazelwood's white ball form.
Yeah.
Because for so long it's been, Josh Hazelwood, he bowls the line and length. He's McGrath-esque. He's a test bowler, and chuck him in that one day squad.
Well, the recent chat as well is like getting left out of the test squad because they want more of a fire option than in the squad there. And his form's been unreal. I don't think we can doubt.
There's a reason why line and length works in Test match cricket, and it works in ODI and T20 cricket also.
His series stats: he bowled 12 overs, 2 maidens, pretty impressive. 6 for 57. Economy 4.75
across 3 matches. Yeah, so that's
average 9.5.
That's why I give him player of the series.
Yeah, Finchy. Well done on making runs.
Yeah,
but
you got 100 runs.
That's a robbery.
Yeah.
Where is Shannon Knoll and Guy Sebastian?
Whoever's, Mop giving Wade man of the match in game 2. So whoever's given out man of match, man of series. Yeah.
Warner made more runs than Finch.
Yeah.
Warner had 130 at 65. Finch 114 at 57. Finch slightly higher strike rate.
Maybe it's just good on you, Finchy.
Given the old boys,
you got a few runs there, mate. Good on you.
Anthony Brazzullo, 2nd grade AFL Coaches Award. Thanks for trying.
Maybe skipper for leading the team
Leadership,
or something. I don't know.
Well, speaking of,
I can't justify it.
Going forward, Finch. And I think we've spoken about it before on the Esky, but Finch he's got the keys for the World Cup. They said we'll back you in. We'll back you in.
That's probably his last tournament.
You get this tournament. And then from there,
we win the tournament. Retire.
From there, we'll reassess. Speaking of as well, that we've got white ball coming up in Sri Lanka, five ODIs, but Oz A is over there at the moment, and I like how they've sort of done this co-current kind of format. They played a few. I've got the ODIs in the air quotes. They're unofficials, obviously, but they played against Sri Lanka A. Cam Green with
ODNI,
not OD. It's international. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the correct nomenclature is there. But Cam Green turned up in the first one. Travis Head turned up in the second one. I was wondering where old Nirishan Dick Weller's been. He's captaining the twos. He's the Magoo skipper. So old Dick Weller, skipper of the Sri Lanka Magoos. The Oz A players, a lot of guys that you'd kind of expect, guys that have been in and out, guys that have played a fair bit of Test cricket in there. The fellas that I wanted to mention, Henry Hunt. He actually captained the second game, so he's been making a lot of runs for South
opening
Australia.
back. He's young fella.
He's from rural New South Wales. He's from Cowra, I think, up the road from us here. I think he's kind of been highlighted as maybe a potential Test player in the future and maybe a potential leader. So good to see Henry Hunt getting his just desserts, and also the spinners that they took over there. So Zamps is back here. His missus is having a baby. So Zampa normally
Agar's been
Agar's been in the ones
T20s
the ones, and then the twos guys. I love this. Is so good. It's so club footy. It's so club footy. So they took over Todd Murphy. 21-year-old Victoria.
Never heard of this dude.
Yeah, I listened to the Grade Cricketer. Shout out, much better cricket podcast than this one. I'd like to
Debatable.
No. I'd like
Thanks for your vote of confidence there.
I'd like to hear their thoughts on the NFL or something. But anyways, they had a chat with him, and he played 2 games for Victoria as a fill-in for John Holland. He's had a few seasons playing grade cricket for St Kilda. Shout out Shane Warne. He's an offie, and in the conversation of when Nathan Lyon retires, who's going to be our frontline guy? Right. Again, this is very early speculation.
For 2 first-class games, you were saying it's very, very early to get an Aussie crack.
First-class games, but you don't want to put too much pressure on the young bloke. But just a name to keep in your radar, cricket fans, Todd Murphy, and then Matt Kuhneman and Tanveer Sanger, a touch older. Sanger's only 22, I believe.
He's young.
That they also took them over. And you know how we're saying we can't have 3 spinners in a T20
IPL OTE
in our IPL team that we named last week. Turns out you can in an unofficial ODI. They went with the 3 spinners and just Steckity and Hardy as the quicks. Very interesting. It's almost as interesting as the ones, you know, as a Magoo's man myself. That you see, who are they highlighting? Who's going to be the future of Australian cricket? We've got an aging, team essentially that there's going to have to be a bit of a changing of the guard.
It's good to see as well some of these guys that'll play in the ODI series and then the Test series, like you mentioned, Cam Green, Travis Head. Good to see them, playing in Sri Lanka, getting used to the conditions there, getting runs on the board. They don't do the old tours as much as they used to, where you you have this, where you have your top flight team and then your second team, playing the local county team or whatever. So it's good to see multiple level games happening on the tour, opportunity for the guys who are in the different teams and the different formats to have a crack, get in form, get used to conditions. So, and just more sport, more cricket. We love it.
Indeed. Sean? Do you want to run us through this result here quickly in the UFC?
Yeah, so Valentina did win. It looks like
this is contentious.
It's
split.
I think it was split decision, doing a bit of lip reading there. So 2 in her favour.
Down the bottom.
She definitely won the last 2 rounds. Santos won the first 2, and then it was whether the third.
Okay.
As I was saying, as we were leading into it, that she'd lifted through that, but also there was a lot of ground control time for Santos there. Potentially, the 4th round might have been a 10-8 as well, which I saw a lot of people had it kind of drawn up leading into the 5th, so it could have been tied score wise there, and maybe she did get with a win in the 5th round. I think the way the championship rounds, we talk about that, she did dominate the 4th round and was heavily leading the 5th as well, and then kind of bailed on 3rd. I think it's fair enough. You look at the damage, you look at the amount of strikes she threw. She did struggle with the wrestling to begin with, but no damage was taken in that point. I guess from that regard, if you look at the fight as a whole, which you usually don't, you don't judge it as a whole.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
If you're looking at it as a whole, I think she was a deserved winner. Split decision's not bad. Santos is a big lady for the division, so she could definitely come back, and they'll probably run that back. And I think that's what Valentina needs is someone to compete against. Now with Nunes dropping the belt, that's her the only person she's ever lost to, and Whether they did the trilogy and then try to do that again, she needs someone in her division to compete with.
Do you
Maybe
think
that can be Santos.
was it a bit like you've got to beat the champ to be the champ?
Yeah.
So like
There's always that sentiment, and the crowd's going to probably favour the champion a little bit as well, knowing them as the star and that. And if you look at the two, look at the damage, and that might have swayed them a little bit. Though I think it came from a head clash initially, the swelling, and then the cut though I think came from the fighting. But it's
so that scorecard was 48-47, 47-48, and then 49-46.
Okay, so
Wow.
one judge had it very different.
That judge, was that one of the judges that gave it to Valentina?
So,
No, they would have given it to Talia, I would have thought.
Oh, so there was
The
one with 49,
46, that would have been
was the
Valentina.
Yeah.
See, how does that work? Like judging,
You can't
judging
go
in this sport.
4-1.
Yeah,
It was clear. It was, judging.
Or like a 10-8, like you said.
Yeah, but it still wouldn't. You still wouldn't get a 49-40.
Could have been, so like the 48-47 would be 3-2 rounds.
Yeah, yes.
But if you did a 10-8, one of those, it would make it the 49. Anyway, quick math.
Yeah. Oh, I get. Oh, yes. If she won 3 and then one of those was a 10-8. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, but then it would have been a 45.
we could also talk about this in the UFC.
Anyway,
Yeah. So,
carry on.
We'll work out the maths and get
we'll
back
see
to
if we can get
Bullet one.
what
Moving
the
on.
judges was going forward. So yeah, either way, good fight, great grappling match. The light heavyweights to come.
Yeah.
England, New Zealand. So they're day 2 of the second test. But let's look back to what happened in the first test. Last show, we were leading into day 5. Joe Root at the crease. He was 70 knot or so going into day 5. Sort of the game in the balance. They were 5 for, and he saves the Poms again. He reached 10,000 test runs. Is the same stroke that he hit his 100. So that was nice. Any OCD sort of people out there would have get those juices going. And then it was the exact same age to the day that Alistair Cook also achieved the feat.
Did you see as well during the week, Andy Lee of Hamish and Andy fame made a bet with one of his mates 8 years ago at 150 to 1 odds that Root would not make 10,000. and his mate said, "Oh yeah, you're on." So
150 to 1. That's you know what? Sometimes I think, oh, why are we doing this podcast thing? And then I think, oh, that's a bet down the pub that blokes that have had a wager, and now you can do it and you can timestamp it and you go, hey mate, remember back in 2021 when you said India are afraid of the Gabba? Yeah, I've got that right here in writing in the internet.
Yeah. So there you go. So a bit of a good vision going around of Andy having to pay up.
Yeah, I wonder how many
folks,
units.
yes.
I wonder how many units were placed on that.
Was he so the exact same age as Cook, which was the youngest, but not the least number of innings?
That's the
as well?
caveat. So Tendulkar and Ponting both did it in less innings, but they were older. Oh, yeah. So it's just a function of England playing a fuckload of Test cricket.
Yes.
Yeah. So in terms of
joint youngest ever.
yes, to the day. Do you get the hours and fucking
Get seconds
out?
Yeah,
Get the birth certificates
Get the
out.
birth certificate. We need birth certificates.
I guarantee if those two were at the pub, they probably would.
I want Barack
I don't think
birth
the
certificate,
English
and I
team-
want Joe Root's birth certificate. That's my Trump right there.
I don't think the English team care too much about birth certificates and where their players come from.
Chat. Can we get, actually, as Australian fans, can we get the birth certificates of
Marnus,
this whole,
don't worry about that.
of this whole squad? Yeah, look, I'll sacrifice. I love Marnus, but I'll sacrifice him if
What is it,
England
stone
can
and
only
glass
play
houses? Yeah.
England-born players. Sorry, Marnus, I love you. You'll be doing very well for South Africa. Okay.
Let's not get into
Second
eligibility
test
chat.
is
He's
underway.
and New Zealand made a fuckload, didn't they?
They got sent in and
Yeah.
made 500.
Oh, that is such a fuck you.
Daryl Mitchell,
yeah.
almost double ton. I think he was in the 190s.
You got the
And
card there, Mats.
Blundell, I think they had a big partnership in the first test, and they had a bigger partnership. I think in the 280s or 290s.
Yeah, I
for
think
the
they were
partnership.
four for 160 or something.
And then took them
And
to just over 400.
Yep.
The partnership. So, and what that England won for 90 at the end of day 3, is it?
No, day 2.
Day 2.
Yep.
Okay, so New Zealand scored nice and quick.
Yep, runs bonanza,
So
553.
3 days to go. So you'd think either New Zealand win or draw.
Yep. But yeah, good to see the Kiwi brothers going out and sticking it to the England
Well, they've been
/
very,
fake birth certificates team.
hot and cold since that Test Championship.
Haven't they? They lose to Bangladesh at home.
Yeah.
Are they still dead last?
No,
they bump up
with
the
that
Poms
win?
are.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Are the Poms still dead
Oh,
last?
with
Or
the
would they
win?
No, I think with the win, I think they went up. I think they're about 8th. World Test
Anyway.
Championship. Can you bring that one up?
We'll bring that one up,
yep.
yeah.
The beauties of live podcasting. Interesting. New Zealand have been so hot and cold, but they always play okay in England. Obviously,
Yeah.
the first test, if it wasn't for Joe Root, New Zealand go out and win that one, and definitely in pole position here. Yeah, England they're not dead last because Bangladesh are behind them.
Yeah.
And then New Zealand is 7th currently in the ICC World Test Championship. I was getting asked this week by my boss, shout out to JJ, if you're listening, how the rankings work in the World Test Championship in terms of points.
Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, that was my answer. Player rankings, who decides 1 through 10 and all the, it's all written out. It's like FIFA rankings, but do they make sense? No. Is there any way to explain it? And there's different weightings for different games, and then there's a possibility
Level of competition
that
is-
Australia's ranking, because they're playing Sri Lanka, who's lower ranked, if they win their test matches, they could still go down because Sri Lanka is a lower ranked team.
Yeah.
Oh, surely not.
They got to pump them.
You can't go down if you win.
Apparently, there's some iteration where it can happen. So
Really?
yeah.
Yeah. It probably has to do with close matches versus you got a shit pump them. So.
Okay, without doing too much in-depth research, so the point distribution, so you get 12 points for a win, 6 points for a tie, 4 points for a draw, and 0 points for a loss. And then those points are associated with percentages. So 100 points for the win, 50 points for a tie, 33 for a draw, 0 points for the loss. So I guess that play, so you get your points, and then I guess depending on
Level
your
of
percentage.
competition,
But there's
how
weighting.
much you
That's
win.
the percentages where it's weighted, and then you also get deducted points, I think, for slow run rates.
Yeah.
Overrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, so
Imagine you get deducted for sliding around. That'd be good. Petrara, I'm sick of this. Deductive. You're out.
yeah, so I don't know. The weighting must play into effect based
Win
on how much
percentage is probably the biggest.
And I think we're
difference.
getting, and also I'm talking about the rankings compared to the World Test Championship, because I think that's pretty cut and dry in the World Test.
It's just the top
yeah.
two.
It's-
go and play the final.
Yeah. The math to get into there is what we're just killing.
Anyways,
All right.
we had a tangent and we chose the quick maths route, and it probably made for horrible listening. So thank you to anyone
We'll
that stuck through.
learn the lesson one day.
Yeah, I don't think
Nah.
so.
50th time's the charm.
Yeah, we might learn it in 3.5 years, which is how many days, or quick maths and work it out. India playing South Africa, highly anticipated series here. We saw the South Africans doing quite well in the IPL. We've got a 5-match T20 series happening in India, so a few of those South Africans have gone straight into this one. The first T20 international has already happened, but what's the go here? India kind of blooding a few new guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the reason. So the openers were Ishan Kishan and Ruturaj Gaikwad, which screamed to me, obviously, no KL Rahul of second most runs in the IPL and fairly Indian mainstay, as well as skipper Rohit Sharma. So I'm not sure on the reasons why they didn't get picked.
I think they just come off the IPL season.
True.
So be a bit of resting, but I also think leading into the World Cup, those guys are established. Let's see. We've got all this depth that we've been talking about through the IPL.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's try some.
You should come to the trio.
So there was that there was no Rohit made for interesting who's going to be skipper because Shreyas Iyer, KKR captain, Rishabh Pant, DC captain, and Hardik Pandya
of On The Esky 11 captaincy
you boys
fame.
spoke about it last week, all in the squad. Pant gets the captain gig over Shreyas and Hardik. I'm not sure I would agree with that. From the outside looking in, I like what you guys said about Hardik last week. Pant seems like he can win you a game, but he could also lose you a game.
I think
I reckon
Pant
Shreyas
has some like favourite son, as in
true.
I think we talked about in the past. He's most likely maybe the next one to take over the Indian captaincy. So
Bit of grooming.
bit of grooming. Yes, they love
Yeah.
a little bit of grooming. So yeah,
I like to be groomed.
Pant seems a bit more up and down, where Shreyas and Hardik seem a bit more level.
Yeah.
To me,
I agree.
but yeah, India make 4 for 211, and Ishan Kishan up top of the order made 76 as their top run scorer. But that got chased down by the South Africans.
Unbelievable, yeah.
With 5 balls to spare, and it was that man of OTE team of the tournament, David Miller, 64 not out of 31, so striking over 200. Saw them home, got a lot of help from Rassie van der Dusen as well, 75 not out.
Well, they came with a full squad, didn't they? They would have probably World Cup.
Yeah, so
squad.
QDK opened with Bavuma. And
Pretorius,
Miller,
Rabada, Nokia.
Yeah, so a lot of those guys who are there for the IPL. And so the second match is happening later today.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see how that all unfolds. If you like high-scoring affairs and runs,
Over 200, yeah.
That's right. What we haven't seen in the Sri Lanka Australia series, maybe keeping an eye on this one, is the way to go. Just mentioning Hardik as well with the bat. 31 of 12 balls, if you don't mind, striking at 260. He is in some kind of form at present. From the cricket back
Is that cricket? That's done?
Yeah, just quickly back to
James,
the
do you
UFC.
wanna-
We
do you wanna
have
refresh that?
Yuri Prohaka
It's just a bit laggy.
walking out against Glover Teixeira for the light heavyweight championship of the world. Again, apologies if during our NBA or rugby league discussion you hear, that will be us reacting to this fight. NBA is...
Finals time.
Oh, and what a final series.
Desmond.
We haven't really had a really close back and forth game where it comes down to the last shot. But what we have has had this pendulum back and forth, alternating wins, a few away
Big
wins.
momentum swings.
A few blowouts, and it's really making for an enticing series, which is currently at a Archbishop of South Africa, Desmond Tutu. Game 1 was won by Boston. We covered that last week. Then we had 3 games this week. Game 2, Golden State take that one out by 19 points. Steph Curry, 29. They were showing highlights of Steph playing defense. Steph, not renowned for his defense, but he was tenacious in trying to guard Tatum and the likes.
They built a big lead early, didn't they, in this game?
This was a this was a big old blowout. And then game 3, Celtics,
now in Boston.
Celtics take that one back. Yep. So, and if you listen to the tape, I did say that I think Warriors win game 2 at home to make it a interesting series. That was really based on heart more than any kind of analysis.
Came true. You know?
Yeah, that's it. Play all the other stuff that was predicted that didn't
Don't worry
come
about
true.
it.
Yeah, the world was going to end in 2012. Obviously, I didn't really think that. Shout out to the Mayans. But the Celtics take this one. Jaylen Brown probably had his best game of the finals so far, and it's that team attack, that 3-headed approach where Brown, Tatum, and Smart can all hit you for over 24 in this one. I wish they got 25 because it's better for punting and OCD and the rest of it. And Steph Curry was really good, but not good enough in game 3. Game 4. Steph goes out there and drops 43. And who was talking that shit on him? Stephen A. Smith?
I think so.
Stephen A. Smith and talking shit? Jeez.
Hot take there, yeah.
They don't go in the same sentence, do they? What was
Surprise.
What was the stat there, Shauno?
I think the conversation he was getting shat on was he wasn't in that same league as LeBron and Jordan.
Is anyone?
Great question. But then Curry drops the 43, which is another 40-plus game for him, and he equals the most 40-plus games in finals that LeBron and Jordan had. So
without being finals MVP, that's a bit contentious there by itself.
Well, he's got 3 more games in this series.
Well, and if the Warriors win, he's the MVP.
Yeah, I'd think so, yeah. What did you think about the crowd in Boston?
Yeah, nasty.
Yeah.
You
Fuck
always-
you, Draymond.
Yeah, that's what they're like. Boston notorious for it. Philadelphia notorious for it. New York notorious for it. You'd want to have thick skin in some of those arenas.
Gets cold up in the northeast. You get a
You
bit
gotta get angry.
You get a bit
Everyone I've seen
upset
any
about these things.
Bill Burr stand up. He's got there and he's got that Boston accent and he's just a bit angry all the time. And never gets any sun.
Not like this, Golden State, love each other.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, there's been tape that came out of, I think, when the Cavaliers were playing there, LeBron and Golden State fans getting stuck in LeBron, saying some nasty things as well. So it
Goes both ways.
What losers?
You're in enemy territory. What do you expect?
Could you imagine just being a normal working man that likes to drink a few beers and go to the sport and abuse super athletes that are 10 million times more talented than you could ever be? What fucking losers.
Who would do it?
But yeah, hostile environment indeed. Me and Steve have been in that building, by the way, 2008.
Saw a leprechaun jump over Usain Bolt there.
Yeah, dude, actually, we saw the Chicago
I think
Bulls.
I'm making it up.
We saw the Chicago Bulls play the Boston Celtics, and this is like peak, like Celtics, I'm talking... went to go point to Rajon Rondo there, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen, and that kind of crew. And the highlight of that game was the leprechaun jumping over Usain Bolt in the halftime show, and Brian Scalabrine coming off the bench for the Chicago Bulls. For the Boston Celtics, my mistake. And the whole crowd just loving this big
Scalabrine.
Scalabrine. So good on you, Brian Scalabrine, for being a big white red-headed bloke out there that nails the
Speaking my language.
and gets the boys going. Alas, we are talking about the 2022 NBA Finals, which are locked now at 2-2. Shout out to Desmond. And now we have the cross-country flights going on where they'll be back
and forth.
back in San Francisco. Is that that'll be Tuesday morning, Tuesday our time, so Monday night over there. And then they've got to fly to Boston, and then pending the results of these two games, have Game 7, which will be back in San Francisco. So if it does go to a Game 7, geez, that home court advantage in San Francisco going to be hard to overcome.
I don't think that home court's been that advantageous in the finals. Having said that,
Well, in the
whole playoff series,
exactly, and especially in the Heat Celtics one where we saw it really meant nothing.
The last three games all were the away team winning, weren't they?
Exactly.
And I think Dallas, when they finished up the Suns, finished them up in Phoenix.
So a little bit to that. So I was having a look at the, stats for this one as well. So that having the same record for the first 4 games, and then the next 3 games being home, away, home, the record is 15-6.
Right, okay.
The last time to home,
Yep.
the last time that record was accomplished in a finals was back in 1984, where Boston started at home. It was up against the Lakers. Boston won that one with Larry Bird being MVP. But
Omen.
Yeah.
Omen?
Possibly a little bit of omen, but it's all going the other way. It would be Golden State Warriors who would win if they repeat that series of home and away wins.
Who we got? Who we cheering for?
Well, week on,
still
I think
cheering
you
for
guys were
Celtics.
Golden.
We both went Boston.
Yeah.
No, I think
Boston.
I thought it was the other way around. I thought I was the Boston one, and
I was actually listening to our episode back this week. Well, I don't tend to like doing it because listening to your own voice is fucking disgusting and reiterates how much of a beta you are. Speaking about myself, of course. No, I actually listened to it. I'm pretty sure you went San Fran. You went Golden State, I should say.
all right, fine, I'll stick with Golden State.
Fucking no.
Put it on the line now. Who are you going for?
That's it.
Yeah, well, I think I'm leaning more towards the team ball in Boston.
Watch Golden State go out and win 2 landslides. Put that on the internet.
But that's the thing
it.
they can do. They've got the
Well,
X
that'll be the
factor to
curse
do
then,
that.
yeah.
So I think the main thing I said last time was I think it's going Game 7. I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Game 7.
Yeah, me too.
Definitely.
Scalabrine. Scalabrine. If there was to be a Game 7, does it happen to land on our weekend? Surely it has to. Tuesday, Friday, it'll be...
no, it'd be Monday again.
It'll be Sunday night over there, Monday.
Yeah.
Yep.
JJ.
already thinking about a sickie.
Cool. All right. Looking forward to see what happens, and obviously in less than 24 hours' time, we'll have a much better understanding as to how this series is going to look. If the Celtics get a win tomorrow away and then get to go back to TD Garden for Game 6, geez, it's gonna be tough. NRL State of Origin. The marquee
Queenslander.
I deleted it from the notes.
Why are you wearing a blue shirt?
just to rub it in. Fuck you guys.
Fuck. Let's talk about how good a game it was for the neutral,
yes,
the
great
neutral
football
viewer.
game.
One of the
What
better
a
State of
neutral
Origin
viewer.
games, and who won? It doesn't really matter that much. To be honest,
It's only one game.
Just
It
good
is a
for the
three
game.
series.
There's two more to play.
You realise he's wearing a maroon jersey?
Yeah.
Maroon shirt. I should
Actually,
say.
yeah.
Should've switched. That's why I went to this nice neutral green. Yeah, go Tasmania. All right, 80,000 in Stadium Australia, the biggest rugby league crowd in the post-COVID era. Did you see they were struggling initially
They only sold out tickets on the day. So
Yeah, crazy, huh?
Yeah, right.
I wonder if that was a pricing issue.
Cost of living in
Cost of
Sydney.
NRL problems.
Yeah, Sydney issue, perhaps.
Yeah. I think the league's got some
It
problems
wasn't
with
like rainy or anything like that, was it? So I didn't have to worry about that as a factor.
Anyway,
They have less trouble selling tickets in Perth than they will in Sydney. And that probably speaks to where the NRL currently is.
that speaks to where Sydney is. People hate travelling to that venue. They don't like watching football there. It's too hard to get in and out of. We could
69.
Wrap it on about this forever. The teams. Queensland, they debut 4 players: Selwyn Cobbo, Ruben Cotter, Pat Carrigan, Jeremiah Nanai. I must admit, before the game, looking at those names, obviously we've spoken a fair bit about Cobbo and he maybe being a future superstar of our game, if he's not a superstar already. They didn't instill fear into my possibly arrogant, naive, overly bold confidence in this New South Wales team winning this game. All of those players were excellent on debut, but we will break that down a little bit further. And then a little bit of, I don't know if it was mind games from Freddie or what exactly was going on. Cam Murray and Junior Paulo were initially named. They went to the bench, and Revan Campbell-Gillard and Liam Martin start for the Blues. Stephen Crichton and Ryan Madison debut off the bench.
I wonder if that messed up the Queensland a little bit as well, because Papali only played 5 minutes in that second half too. So
That was weird.
yeah, that
really
was
weird.
weird, definitely. So I was just wondering whether they kind of changed it. Well, of course they had the injuries and they were down 1 or 2 guys on the bench for a large period of that second half. So that's, they probably saved Papali, but they saved him for a lot of if he's going to only play 5 minutes. But anyway, it's interesting. I think the changing in strategy maybe played a little bit into that with the props.
Let's talk about the game. Big talking point since the wrapping up of State of Origin Game 1 was the Isaiah Yeo. It couldn't have been a concussion because there wasn't a HIA. There was a head clash.
There was no check for
There was a head clash between Isaiah Yeo and Papali'i on.
I think he copped a bit of forearm as well.
Yeah, and a
First
little bit.
play of the game.
He
setup.
wobbled for 4 seconds.
Well, he went down.
and then he was back in the line
Yeah,
defending.
well, Tarek Sims grabs him and helps him get back
and
in the
put him up.
line.
Yep.
Yep. It's just like, you got to get back into position here. So, they didn't. By reports, it didn't hit level 2 or something, so it didn't warrant a further check. I think they maybe should have been a bit more cautious considering the dude's history of having concussions every other week. But hey, the Penrith have ruled him out for this week. So he won't play today
Because of
because of that. So they
say ruled out.
They've ruled out and haven't given us an injury.
Yeah, they don't have to.
He played 80 minutes and has done nothing since. So I don't think there's any other things.
Tight hammies, bro.
Yeah. Well, they didn't say rested. They could have just said he was rested, but they've ruled him out. So he's injured.
And obviously, the conversation here is around this is State of Origin. It is treated in a different respect than say. Penrith are playing the West Tigers and it's round 3 and there's nothing on the line.
Also true.
Isaiah Yeo perhaps maybe goes and sits down. Look,
It's the player welfare question. This is like they of course are going to play on. The coach is going to want them to play on.
The fans
everyone there. So that's the whole point of an independent doctor. Is
and they do have that
decision.
18th man for that reason, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, do they have a medical sub?
Yeah,
they did.
Yes, and so Nico Hines
yeah.
is
But
the 18th man.
that's just part of the game.
And it's not like for like.
But it's also isn't it still they have like the 3 head injury rules or something to then be able to. It's not like the AFL.
It's not like the AFL is one. They have to have 3.
Exactly. It's stupid. You'll lose half your team before you use a medical sub.
Oh, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. So again, NRL and player welfare, meh.
But it's a warrior sport as well. Like I'm not.
It is.
I am defending the decision. I think you have to weight them different. Of course, it's not good for your brain, but also it's state of origin, and these guys play that many games in a year, and you're just as likely to have a head knock in a game that means nothing. And I think in that circumstance, they would have said, "Okay, come sit down. You know, we can go without."
Yeah. But then again, you see the NFL and you see guys routinely dying under 50 from brain-related CTE injuries.
Yeah,
so it's just like it's just, and we talked about this a little bit. It's that short-term game for the loss of the long-term potentially. It's just like and I guess going like your point, you're in the gladiator sport. What do you expect? You're putting yourself in that position.
Yeah, we're literally watching 2 men that are
trying to beat the shit out of
6'4", 205 pounds. Try to knock each other out at the moment. So, you've got to consider welfare, but you've also got to consider that these guys give informed consent and want to be warriors and want to be there in front of 80,000 and do their best. So I can see both sides of the argument for sure, but maybe I am kind of leaning towards the let the boy play if he's able to in a state of origin kind of camp.
So what happened the rest of the game after that first play?
That's first out.
Xavier Coates could have gone the length of the field. He had an intercept which pretty much hit him on the tit. I imagine with his speed he would have gone 90 metres, but it was the Canberra Raider Jack Whiten who had possibly been
New South Wales best, I reckon.
Yeah, had been picked out of position playing in the centres. He was unreal. It was Luai with the draw and pass, and Whiten was way too strong there for Dane Gagai and Selwyn Cobbo, both themselves pretty big, handy defenders. You think Jack Whiten was the best for the Blues in this game?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
He offered the most. I think he gave him the most opportunities for line breaks to potentially get good field position and to score points.
Yeah, he had a real good one when they were chasing points that second half.
Yeah.
He got down the wing and he just kind of got clipped or he stumbled a little bit.
He was playing against Gagai, wasn't he?
But if he kept his balance, they were in again, and it was just a little bit off balance. Yeah. And so he scored one, had that line break, and could have. I think he was their best.
Gagai, in my opinion, was probably playing on one leg because he had that huge strapping and taping on that thigh. I think he must have had a bit of a bad thigh cork. So played through it, but he wasn't at his fastest. And I think Jack, with just the extra power, did what he needed to do and had a really good game against Gagai.
Didn't stop Gagai from scoring himself, though, did it?
It was all off the back of Selwyn Cobbo.
Yeah, that was great because the Ponga pass hits the ground. So Cobbo picks it up on the half volley, running full speed down the wing.
Down the side.
I thought Teddy got sucked in a little bit. I can't remember who was chasing. I think it was Luai from the inside. Yeah. Looked like he had him, but Teddy kind of came up and then Cobbo kicked it in behind for Gagai to bounced up.
Good bounce.
Bounced up perfect for him, didn't it? So. Yeah. But yeah, good play from Cobbo.
Yeah, great little, and because he was going out of bounds, so he had to do something. And rather than throwing the panic pass inside, kicked ahead, perfect weight on it, and sets up Gagai. It's Origin, of course. Dane Gagai scores. He just lifts up.
Was he $1.10 for any time price golf?
Yeah, $2.50 or something.
He always scores.
Yeah, him and the other guy scored later too.
Yeah, indeed. Cam Munster, how good was he? We spoke about Jack Whiten being the best for the Blues. I think Cam Munster was the best bloke on the field.
Yep.
That one where he threw that big dummy to the right and he just goes bang, 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 breaks 3 tackles and breaks the line, and that actually led to the DCE try.
Yeah, he didn't want to remember. He just skipped over it.
Thoughts around Mazza? Talking about the junior Paulo.
Well, just before half time, that was under the posts. It would have put him up.
It was atrocious.
Would have been 10-6.
I hate like you have to run through the line. Cam Murray knew that he had to run through the line. The commentators knew it.
We knew it. We're sitting there next week.
We knew it straight away.
So for me, this was the first game of league I've watched all year.
And
I messaged you boys the next day. I go, how's the bunker work, lads? Because the commentators I was listening to on the KO playback say, obstruction. Yeah, no worries. Of course it is. But they say, but Queensland are way offside here. DCE's practically in the backfield already. And does bunker not look at that? And you guys just went, who knows how the bunker works? And I thought, okay,
that's been
every week. Game.
Every week, the talking point in terms of officiating is what is the bunker going? Like, why is it there? If they're going to look at things 1,000 times, and still,
why is it there if it's going to fuck it up?
It's still
because that was an interesting thing for me. Because I kind of was thinking through anytime there's a referral in cricket, they check everything, and they check is it snick, you know, even if it's like even if it's missed,
they've got the procedure
by miles. It's like
let's
check for court, let's check for LBW.
So the big difference, I guess, in this analogy is cricket is a slower paced game, especially in Test cricket. Whereas everyone complains it's the rugby league's got to be fast paced, all these stoppages. So they've, I think they've got a set thing they got to look through and do it as quickly as they can, get to a result, game on, keep playing. Versus, let's spend 3 minutes.
Not
going
to
to
check for
everything.
Offside. Not going to check for.
Yeah, but even to that, they do check all tries anyway. So like when they're setting up for the kick, they go back and review it, and then if they do suspect something, then they go. It's a 30-second
thing. That's what I'm getting at. It's not let's go through everything and check.
I think it's more just they've got their blinkers on. Like, all right, we'll dealing with a try. We'll look for obstruction or
the ref sent it up as I've got possible obstruction. Can you check it? So that's what they.
I mean, like, to be honest,
the ref
if it
probably
was...
should have picked the offside and called a penalty.
To be honest, if it is a penalty, then they probably kick the 2 and go in a half at 6-6, and it probably doesn't make a difference to the end result. But
I think it's
it was
fair.
Just interesting for me. I
think it's fair in that they go, no try, obstruction, but offside, penalty. What do you want to do? And they can make a decision from there. I get in my mind that's fair. That's the outcome. But you know what the bunkers like. They'll miss that and they focus on the Jimmy Paulo thing. And they weren't
done for the game. Then were they?
Of course,
they were called upon again.
They got the Cameron Murray thing right in regards to
that was obstruction. Yeah.
It was pretty clear with understanding. You run on the line, you stop on the line and impede people. Then they're always going to call that, unfortunately.
Then after halftime,
back
to the bunker. When the DCE, off that try off the scrum that Munster set up, that line break.
Yeah, so DCE walks in untouched, no one within cooee of him. Yep. It was Tarek Sims, which had kind of
and Tedesco. They both
but Tarek's in the line, and then Teddy's the fullback. I think Teddy probably has reason to be overcommitting.
Yes,
has reason to be overcommitting.
Whereas Tarek Sims is like the man he's meant to be marking is DC.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yep. So and look, if you're trying to defend these right outside backs of Queensland who had been very good, I can see why he was trying to get a little bit of a head start heading over. To defend to his left there, but that was one of the softest tries you'll ever see in State of Origin football, wasn't it? And DCE could barely believe it. I think that he'd walked in. Do you think that's a film thing that they did with Slater and looking at set plays and
potentially, or maybe just to read DCE, could see though, they're overcommitted over here. I'm just gonna. I'll chance my arm. I'll run this one and see what happens.
Yeah. It wasn't even a big right foot step. It was
just a little one.
We were just talking about Teddy was bolting that hard to the outside.
And you're talking about I guess the play of or the emphasis of having a scrum in NRL and stuff This is exactly it's still.
That's why they That's why they keep them. That's why it still exists.
Speaking of which, the New South Welshman fans have been bitching about the fact that Junior Paulo was potentially held up in that scrum a little bit.
And he came out and said, someone was pulling me, yada yada.
But it's a scrum, so you kind of go into that expecting, and that happens all the time. The props always link arms essentially to hold each other in there. So that's a very regular thing that happens week in, week out.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Plus, we already talked about it. It was Tarek Sim's man. Junior Paulo was not going to be marking him anyway.
And was Paulo going to ever be in a position where he runs down and tackles DCE there?
No, not especially when Teddy is also in the backfield there. And
That's it.
And this is from a one-eyed
Yeah.
Blues supporter that, had I had this conversation when I was 16, this is bullshit. This is bullshit.
That's it.
No, Paulo was never going to affect
No.
that play, I don't think. It's pretty redundant.
I mean,
talking about it.
100%.
you can look at games through the regular part of the season, like through a scrum. Sorry, scum.
Scummy
Tell us what you
Scum.
really think.
Scum.
Queenslanders. During the regular season, like the players in the scrum just stand there anyway and just let the ball sort of play on and just walk back into the line anyway. So I suppose considering he scored the try there, you're going to try and call something out. But yeah, it's nothing in that, I guess.
Hopefully they can fix up that line defence from the set play for game 2.
Well, their line defence in the next one was also an issue here. So we're going into the Valentine homes.
Got him! Yes, he's gone! Middle stump! He hasn't offered a shot, it's taken middle stump.
Val.
Yeah,
Just
Val.
like Val.
That's gone
It was
to-
even up there for you, just made it easy.
Man. And Valentino is not even. When we talk about Valentina Shevchenko, Valentino is like Valentino Rossi.
So
blah,
you-
blah, 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 blah.
That's it.
Holmes,
With the
Holmes
trifecta
try.
of that.
Val
Yeah.
Holmes. What did he
Val
do?
Holmes. He scored a try, and off the assist from Ponga. And if you watch the replay of this one, it was actually an excellent vision from Ponga because he's kind of loitering behind the play the ball. Just looks up and then sees that he's on the short side. He's got Haas, Cleary, and the winger as the three. And he's
Yeah, where was Crichton?
Well, that's the thing.
That's a good question, isn't it?
I think maybe he was in the tackle.
Maybe,
But he's checked it. So then he's checked his
Ponga
run.
on Haas.
Yeah, he's checked his run, come back out to the short side, gets it. Then I think it makes it a 4-on-3 anyway. Actually, no, it was a mark. It was 3-on-3.
3-on-3. But he just got to the outside of him with speed.
Yeah, Haas can't get there. That pulls Nathan in, which
yeah.
then pulls Tupou in, and he just
Yeah.
throws a cutout ball.
Yeah.
Home scores.
I think
Too
Tupou
easy.
was already lined up too far in.
Potentially as well, and he
begin
also gets dragged in a metre as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
creates plenty of room for Holmes just to walk in for another try.
Thought he had a really good game, Val Holmes. Like
he was good.
right at the end of the first half, New South Wales put a kick in. His speed he was the first one there to kind of kill it off.
I think the big
there was
one
another
diving
time in
at
the second
Nathan's
half.
feet, yeah.
Second half where
Cleary's
they
feet to
put a kick in. He was the first one back there.
Yeah, big time.
His speed was a huge asset for Queensland, and he played very well. Another guy that, of course, he does it in Origin.
Yeah.
He loves the Origin.
Oh,
try.
he's actually been very good for the Cowboys this year. But
He's been having a great season.
yeah, he's definitely lifted, playing really well in the centres. Found a nice home there, I think. He kind of fits his size and build and his speed very, very well. We'll have to
And,
see how that goes.
speaking of, Kalen Ponga also looked much more dangerous when he had a
Yeah,
few
he did.
weapons around.
when he
him.
has some talent around him.
yeah. There's been games that I've watched this year where he's going, he can't get himself involved. And there's been other games when they played the Dragons, and where it's like Ponga's the best player on the field here by far. So just needed a little bit of cattle around him. You see the photo doing the rounds of him with Billy Slater back in 2013, I think. And
he would have been young.
Yeah, Ponga was playing under 16s or something, and he's a lean little thing.
Yeah.
His hair's looking very red, and then the photo obviously of him embracing Billy Slater. Next to it, 8 years down the track or whatever it was. It's nice to see. Now this was when New South Wales looked like they might be staging a potential comeback, just getting those little fibres in your body.
Throw caution to the wind.
Yeah.
Really, they had to.
Well, I suppose leading up to this, because the Maroons did have a few injuries, Sean was pretty worried that they would be a little bit gassed in the
Yeah,
last
after that
10,
Holmes
20
try,
minutes.
I said,
It
well, I
was-
think we need to score another one
'cause it
because
was
I reckon New South Wales
Coates was
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, when did Coates go off? About 50,
It was-
50th minute?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then Nanai had that
as well.
Then I
injury.
went out,
rolled ankle. or
rolled
something,
ankle, and then
didn't he?
came
So-
back.
Yeah.
And did they have one other?
No, I think that was
No,
it. But
that
that
was
was
it.
probably why Papali didn't play much.
Yeah, they saved him till late.
Because
Wow, this fight's
all
going
those
back and forth.
Cowboys back rowers that got
Yeah.
the game had to play a lot of football.
That's it. And then that I guess led into the next try.
Yeah, well, yes, through that 60th minute, then the New South Wales kind of took the ascendancy, and then the Cameron Murray try, they basically went 90 on that one because they just went straight down the middle, and Queensland were buggered.
Tedesco was getting more and more involved.
He had 290 run meters, Teddy.
Well, I think
he did everything he could.
Yeah, Peps and I talked about this a little bit as we were driving over, that the structures for the New South Wales team, and credit to the Queensland team with their strategy, was very much to take Nathan out of the game. They rushed up on fourth whenever he got the ball to try and tackle him, take him out of that fifth tackle option. And without Latrell and Turbo, they really had no other attacking options. Yeah. And Jack was doing as much as he could.
It was really down that left side with Jack. What the other side, Staggs and then Crichton took over from him, but that right side really didn't offer much attacking options.
Yeah, and I think that probably came with Nathan getting shot down as well. He couldn't give them any good service.
True.
So a bit of game plan there, but that last 30 minutes essentially ended up being the Teddy show because they were just feeding him the ball and just like make something happen. We need you to break one open, and hopefully we can get through there. Whether it's like Cook and
Cookie was getting a bit more involved too.
So Cookie was very good. Made 54 tackles as well, I think. But it begs the question: is Stephen Crichton the man for the 14 role when you've got a guy like Nico Hines who's sitting there as an 18th man, who I think would be a perfect injection? At that point where you're looking for that X factor, and no rub against Stephen Crichton, being one of the form centres in the NRL this year.
He's got to play centre.
But I just don't think he gives you the versatility that a Nico Hines gives you. I suppose the counter argument is, Nico's not as big. Can he go out and if someone goes down in the 5th minute and you've got to chuck him out there to play 75 minutes in the centres, can he defend? That's the counterpoint. But I just feel
80 every week for Sharks, doesn't he? Or?
Yeah, but he plays as a halfback, so I suppose doesn't have that pressure on him so much, in terms of line defence. But I just feel like as a Blues fan, when you feel that momentum starting to build, and if you had a guy like Nico Hines in there, who's arguably been the best player in the comp this year, and if you don't want to argue that, he's definitely been top 5. Having him in there to inject, something in the last half an hour, it'd be an interesting decision for Freddie for game 2 to see.
Do you know what I think they lacked as well? They lacked a bit of pace, a bit of extra X factor that they probably could have done without a Gara in the squad. I think him over Tupou, Daniel Tupou was there very much to limit what Kaibo did, and he did.
Tupou wasn't bad.
He wasn't bad, but I think Adokar maybe adds an extra level in the attack that you probably
didn't go down that side.
Exactly.
That was also a problem.
Really.
So we did cover that, but I would have thought maybe a little bit of extra pace there on chasing some of those balls might have paid off a little bit of dividends.
Nice bit of symmetry in the game in that the first play of the game with Isaiah Yeo also involved in the last play of the game where it got a bee's dick away.
Dude, I was just about standing up. I thought he was going to crash over, and he gets tackled a metre short, and then you feel like he might get to play the ball.
Yeah, they did well to slow him down. Make sure that was the last play.
Siren goes, and full credit to Queensland, etc., etc. One of the best Origin games in recent memory. Obviously, stings as a New South Wales Blues fan losing in Sydney in a series where you're probably favoured to take the thing, and now it's going to be very, very difficult. They have to win in Perth just to give them a shot to try to go win up, in the impenetrable fortress of Suncorp Stadium. But for Queensland fans and for, kind of a bit more neutral sort of viewers, Stan, you're saying this was the first game of rugby league that you watched this year. Obviously living in Adelaide, it gets swept under the rug a little bit, as they like to do with dead bodies in terms of...
into barrels.
Yeah, some of the crazy murders that have come out of Adelaide. If you're into true crime podcast, this isn't the one for you. But anyways, I don't know where I'm going with that. For you, watching... this being your first game of NRL this year had to be good. Had to be good viewing.
Yeah, obviously close scoreline, which you love, and right up to that last second, you still don't know who's going to win, and but it did seem that they do, like you kind of said, at the top of the segment talking about Yo with his concussion. They do seem to put the whistle away a bit in Origin, just let the boys play, which is fine because it goes both ways, doesn't it? It's just let the boys play, and so it did seem really just to be that last 20 minutes. And it's obviously you got the best players out there, so you got the best defenders out there. So it was 16-10, low scoring, not as many tries as you'd like to see, but wasn't really until that last 20 minutes where you really saw it open up, a few more line breaks, a bit more speed in the game. But that's what happens when you get the best players out there, the best coaches, best defenders, all that kind of stuff. So, 2 weeks to game 2?
It's a Sunday night.
Sunday night
in Perth.
Not this weekend, but next.
I was wondering, can you chase up how many penalties were in the game? It
2 each or something?
It wasn't
pretty
much.
low.
It wasn't much. And how good?
That's what you want.
Yeah.
But it just kind of meant both teams often have to bring it out from their own 20, their own 30, not getting to start a set
Not a lot of people.
in the other half.
There wasn't a lot of set restarts either in the game too.
True. So,
New South Wales conceded 4 and Queensland conceded 3.
4-3. Okay, a
There you go.
little bit more than we thought, but still.
Unders for the rest of the rest of the league.
That's 30 minutes, week to week in the NRL.
Injuries coming out of the game? So,
Yeah, so-
Coates left the game, as
Yeah,
we've
Paul-
already highlighted.
Poor
surgery
fella.
for him.
Yeah, he.
Surgery. Ooh.
So break.
He won't play in the series, I don't think, again.
No, confirmed. But broken ankle and syndesmosis repair. Hopefully, can get good for later in the year for club footy. But that's his Origin campaign done.
Yeah, early chat, potentially Oates is a replacement. He had a
Oates
swollen,
for Coates.
yeah, he had
Drop the C and you're good to go.
he had a swollen hand out of that game last night, but had a blinder, so he could probably go in that squad. But then it was also the hammer.
Who was in the squad?
Yeah, so
I wonder if he goes straight in. Hamiso, Tabuai, Fido.
They're the options.
Kyle Felt had been good for the Cowboys. He's currently on the sidelines with an MCL. He won't be. I don't know if he'll be good for game 2. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Nathan Cleary had a big old shiner on his eye. I think it was just a head knock. Penrith teams should actually be announced for today.
Yep.
Not sure if he's good. Has anyone seen that? Is he good to
I think he's good to go.
go? They start in an hour.
The other big one that happened last night.
He's
that
named.
Wasn't
He's named.
in this game was Payne Haas. Did the AC in his right shoulder. He has been struggling with a left AC all season, but potentially this one may be a little bit worse. But we'll have to wait and see. I think he's got to get scans, etc.
Okay.
And Tony Staggs came off the field as well.
Did a shoulder too and didn't play, and I think he's off for scans as well.
It's a bit of damage for Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos had a horror game last night. Herbie Farnworth tore his bicep and season done. Missed the World Cup for England, and Reynolds broke a rib, so he's probably out a month as well.
Let's
a good chat
let's
in
keep
round
talk-
14.
Well, let's just keep talking about that. We can talk about last night and then go back. So the Broncos win 7 in a row last night with their win over the Canberra Raiders, who had won 4. They'd strung 4 in a row.
I think
had
the
they not?
Raiders have won 4 in a row, yeah.
I'll just double check that. Sean, you watched this one last night. Your thoughts, please. It was a little bit of a classic fade.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
They had a halftime lead.
They
2
didn't score a
points,
point. It was 2 points. So they're only just in front. Only allowed 1 try in the second half, but couldn't score any points themselves. Hate a second half try, the Raiders. Had plenty of ball and plenty of opportunity late, especially with the Broncos kind of fading with the injuries. They were out on their feet. And the Raiders basically dominated the last 15 minutes but couldn't get any points. They turned the ball over too much. Too many knock-ons, too many errors. Kept Brisbane in it. So I think the Raiders could be there in the top 8. I think like 8th. You know, they might sneak in that 8th position. They've got a decent squad, and I think they're finally Fogarty back there and Whiten and 6. They've got some halves pairing. Wolford at 7 with Starling off the bench helps their spine. So I think they've Tarpany was actually he was so good last night.
I was just having a look at Tarpany's numbers. He was the biggest metre eater.
He had 12 runs, 130 metres, but in the first half alone. So,
Yeah, 240 metres in the game, 6 offloads, 33 tackles. He has the most post-contact
did he just win?
Stoppage, yeah.
post-contact metres in the NRL this year. As
30 seconds to go in the 5th round.
Yuri
Stoppage.
Brahaka has just TKO'd Glover Teixeira,
I'm not
who,
sure. Yeah, I didn't.
from what we've seen, lip reading and talking about rugby league, was winning this fight.
Oh, it was a war. It was a war,
Yeah.
and potentially 2 rounds apiece going into that last one. Because I think Glover got the first. I would give the second to Yuri, third to Yuri, and fourth to Glover.
Jeez, you are good at multitasking. I definitely hadn't been scoring rounds as I went.
Yeah, but the absolute war going back and forth. And
Yeah.
I think Glover almost won that fight in that round. But yeah, they've
shit.
called the
Wow.
stoppage.
The gold shirt coming on pretty quickly for him.
Yeah, that's huge. And Glover was getting beaten up in this fight too, but he just kept firing back. I think it's a submission.
Is it
chokes
choke
him out.
here?
Yeah, he's
Submission. Yeah, he's tapped.
he's
there.
tapped.
Oh, he tapped.
Submission.
It's good. Yeah, it's good.
Did he
It's
have?
a bit
Was
of
he
a
under the
sideways.
Yeah,
it
it
looks
must
like
be.
It's choking. Glover with no chokes all too well.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, 30 seconds to go, and potentially
That is-
was winning that round.
That is crazy, man. What the hell? What a war. That'll go down. Hats off to Glover, 42 years of age, still,
Still doing it.
out there, only recently becoming the champ himself. And this up-and-comer, Yuri Prochazka, is now the light heavyweight champion of the world. We'll discuss in depth in our UFC segment.
I think there's probably enough on Broncos
Okay.
Raiders as well.
Just quickly, Raiders had won 4 of their last 5. It
There you
wasn't
go.
4 in a row. They did lose a couple of weeks ago to Parramatta. Friday night, the Cowboys demolished the Dragons just 2 days after Origin up there at Queensland Country Bank. I kind of looked at this matchup as a Dragons fan and thought, we'll get the Cowboys 2 days after Origin. Hopefully half their Origin players don't play. It was only Nanai that didn't back up. And for the Dragons, Hunt played, Sims did not. I tell you what, blokes backing up after Origin 2 days later to play rugby league, one of the most violent games on the planet, they have my utmost respect.
Yeah, it's
Playing reserve grade Aussie rules football and trying to rock up to training 3 days later as a 32-year-old is very difficult. It's very difficult. So these guys, they are warriors. They've got my respect. It didn't turn out the way that I kind of had thought. I thought the Dragons were like $4. I thought, could have a little smoky here if half of the Cowboys players don't play. But they all backed up other than Nanai and just put on a clinic. Taumalolo, very good again. He had 207 metres, 91 post-contact. Jaden Sewer was back first game after that ankle injury, which he's suffered early on in the year. It was a good signing, I think, for the Dragons. Obviously at South, played for the Maroons last year. He got in for a meat pie. But it was all over. And then unfortunate news for Helium Lukey, who suffered an ACL. He'll be out for the rest of the season. Reece Robson was good for the Cowboys. Scott Drinkwater, good again. But the Dragons' defence was no bueno. There's a few tries that got a broken tackle on the Cowboys' own 40 line and then just went the full length of the field. Cowboys are the real deal. Not that the Dragons are, world beaters by any.
are they making the 8, perhaps?
The Dragons, they're going to be. They're exactly where I thought they'd be. Unlike you with your facetious wooden spoon predictions. I thought yes, they'll be there or thereabouts all year and probably finish up with a gentleman's 10th or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Look, if they finish 8th, I imagine they'll be making up the numbers. But a team that's not making up making up the numbers is the Cowboys. An impressive win just 2 days
Still third?
after Origin. Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Third, and Brisbane consolidate 4th place with their win. South, pretty easy win over the Titans yesterday. We were showering babies yesterday, so did not catch this one live. Has anyone seen any highlights or anything to go by? No. Okay.
The big news, I'd say the big news coming out of this is Jared Wallace has signed a 2-year deal to go to the Dolphins.
So another forward.
Yeah, they're going to have a good pack. The pack's going to be good.
That pack's going to be good. Definitely need a spine. South. Oh, Alex Johnson. I did see this on the news. Alex Johnson scored a hat-trick.
Ooh, there you go.
Yep.
What's he at for the season?
Alex Johnson doing Alex Johnson things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, Monks, can you chase up season leaderboards? But I was having this conversation with a few family members, and he is on pace to take that record big time. I think.
Keep it up, and he'll definitely get there.
Yep, he's on 19.
19.
Already.
I think closely followed by Mortalo
No,
at 18.
no, that's line breaks back.
Oh, sorry, no, jeez, wow.
I was going to say 19's pretty
14.
good.
I was like 19. I was like, fuck, that is more than he must have scored 8 tries.
I think he should be in the teens at least, but I didn't think he'd be that high.
He's on 14.
14,
geez.
there you go.
What about Ryan Pappenhausen, who hasn't played for a few
Why
weeks?
does his name not get mentioned for Origin?
Not big enough is often
Pappenhausen.
no
Johnson.
Johnson.
Like he's
Yeah,
consistently top of the try scoring chart.
Yeah, and that's a fair question. Yeah, I think a lot of sort of.
I think because like Toto and Tupou and Adokar, they do a lot more meter eating.
Meter-eating.
True.
And yes, like you said, Johnson gets labelled with the winger.
He's a finisher.
The smaller, he's a finisher, not a.
Johnson also had the pleasure of starting his career playing outside Greg Inglis.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah, reasonable question. Reasonable question.
Well, no, same thing with Nathan Merritt. He was at South for a long time, scored all the tries, never could make it in the Origin squad. I think he got
Roosters
one
Storm
game.
was the next matchup.
Yeah, big match up here at the SCG.
Just to finish on the Titans,
yeah.
I think they've got a big problem roster-wise, especially a lot of guys trying to get out now. Big Tino is the only one that I think turns up week in, week out. The rest of them are, what Reece Walsh was saying last week, to have a good look in the mirror and see if they actually want to play for that club or not.
Oh, yeah. Gold Coast. Where your dreams go
Full
to-
of successful teams.
Yeah, where dreams go to die.
Yeah.
Roosters Storm. This was a good one. The scoreline probably doesn't reflect how close the game was. The Chooks actually had a lead up until the 60th minute, and then Melbourne just being clinical in finishing 26-18 winners in that one. What about Teddy?
Just a score.
Teddy, 290 run meters in Origin, backs up on last night and had 239 run meters, if you don't mind.
Machine.
Yeah, absolute superstar.
He's not the best fullback in the game. Well, what do you think about Sowali playing Origin?
Yeah, well, he was lights out last night, defended the line ferociously. I think he might have had a meat pie himself, was in the 23-man squad. The bloke's 19.
Yeah.
He's going to play Origin. So whether or not it's in game 2 or game 3, do they throw Sowali in and he wins or puts Origin 2022 on his back and wins it for the Blues? No, I don't think so. Is this guy
Big shout, definitely.
Is this guy going to play a lot of State of Origin football because he's 19 years of age?
Potentially.
Yeah. Well, not potentially. I think,
Well, yeah. He's New South Wales copper.
Undoubtedly. Ooh, interesting comparison.
Yeah, well, I think they could probably
Similar in age. Yep.
Yeah, similar in age, similar position. That's they'll probably have a lot of battles going forward.
But yeah, we're talking all about Chooks players, but it was the Storm that get the win there.
Kerry also another
Concussion
concussion for him.
Yeah, and I think Sammy Walker had a head knock as well from the highlights that I saw. So hopefully the halves there for the Chooks aren't in too much disarray.
Yeah, the Chooks have been synonymous with head knocks of late.
Haven't they?
Yeah.
I wonder what they train like. I wonder if they go a bit hard and where the wears them out a little bit. They get a bit chinny.
Nah. Ginny.
got-
Well, that would be Penrith if anyone.
True.
Or what's his name? Warrior Hargraves
Well,
might be slapping a few of his
Well,
teammates
that's the
around
thing.
too
Yeah, maybe
much.
Hargraves swinging arms is hitting them too much in training.
Friendly fire.
Yeah, that's why Boyd Cordner and Friend have had to retire.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, let's
Too much friendly fire.
concussion jokes are fun.
So we've done Broncos Raiders.
I was doing actual analysis.
Chat of that.
Come on.
We got Tigers Manly live in front of us.
Yep.
Campbelltown.
Oh,
The
Oh,
Sea Eagles
lucky.
busting through the line, but he gets brought down. So it's what?
Are they still turbo?
It's into the
Are they single turbo?
Yes, they just
they're only Jake Turbo.
Tom
who
up
has the ball
in
to
the
set.
stands.
And
so it's-
speaking of which, he just dropped the ball, but he gets a penalty.
Into the second half now. 14 minutes into the second half. 6-4 Manly over the West Tigers.
Tight battle.
And then this afternoon's games, 3 on a Sunday here. We have Knights, Panthers, and Warriors, Sharks. Now, a big story that broke this week was Nathan Brown.
Well, we forgot Maguire
Tigers.
as well.
True.
So let's just
Same
happened. Yeah.
transactions can't keep up.
Let's go to coaches segment of the NRL.
Yeah, let's do that because two head coaches sacked on the same day, the first time that's ever happened supposedly in rugby league. So both Nathan Brown and Mike Maguire get the sack. I think Maguire's they've been doing a mid-season review. They've been looking at
Seagulls in.
Ruben Garrick.
Ruben Garrick. Most likely will convert that as well. They did a review and they board and chairmans, whatever, they all got together. And then the writing kind of was on the wall and Maguire was gone.
The writing's been on the wall for 18 months.
But I think, he's had an unlucky run, unfortunately, for Maguire. But there's also some chat. I think they were all chasing the Penrith assistants. Now with the Bulldogs, no, I'm good. With the Bulldogs sacking their Trent Barrett, of course, and now with Nathan Brown also getting sacked, I think everyone was kind of trying to jump into that head coaching market at the same time because it's so
Flooded the market.
Well, it sounds like all three of them want the same bloke. We'll see what happens there. Brett Camorley is now the interim one testicle man doing that for the Tigers. That's what he's most known for, unfortunately.
That's what he's most famous for.
Of course, playing a very long career with Storm.
That and throwing Origin losing intercepts.
Yeah, yes, to Billy's later.
Poor Noddy.
To Matty Bowen. Yes, very good. It'd be interesting because Maguire, he's also the New Zealand coach. Now there's a Warriors gig free.
The national team.
The national team. So whether
He's going to unify the belts.
Yeah, could do slide in there. Tim Sheens, of course, has been the dude that was probably doing the review and was part of that process of maybe white-anting and sacking Maguire here. Whether he steps in the job, I think he doesn't really want to coach
He's
full-time.
old as fuck.
Yeah, so is Wayne Bennett. But
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I think they
71. Yeah.
I think they look for someone else in that space. Then Nathan Brown, his story was he didn't want to go to New Zealand,
Which we were just giving Matt Lodge an absolute pasting for a few weeks ago. Your own coach doesn't want to do it.
Interesting why you'd choose to be the New Zealand Warriors coach if you don't want to.
Yeah, did you miss
go
the
to New
NZ
Zealand.
bit, the name?
Yeah. I was reading during the week. It's for Nathan Brown, it was a little bit more family issue. I don't think his family wanted to relocate, so his girls.
They'll blame the family.
Yeah.
I had heard that too. Once got their HSC coming up, but yeah.
But also,
you sign a contract. I imagine you need to try and think of.
This couldn't have been a shock. It couldn't have been that you
well,
sign
I
up
think
to be the
actually-
Warriors coach. It couldn't have been a surprise that you might have to go to New Zealand.
Yeah, I think he could have potentially done a fly-in, fly-out thing and, would have strained the family for the year or so
True.
he had left on his contract. But you could try to make it work.
Yeah.
You don't have to take the family with you.
Yeah, and also we're blasting a guy, and to be honest, putting family over career, I don't hate that either.
Yeah.
So
It's
there's always two sides to the story, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. And
Oh, I guess that's my point. Don't take the job.
Don't take in the first,
in the first place.
first place.
If you don't want to go to New Zealand, like if you go,
yeah.
right, I don't want to go and I've got good reasons for not wanting to go, but
Don't-
I think
don't
it's a
sign
bit
that
weird to take the job as New Zealand coach and go, I've got to end up in New Zealand. Hang on, what? Right.
I thought we're the Central Coast Warriors.
Yeah, I thought Ardern had that place locked up till 2040.
Anyway, so
Who's taken over?
Stacey Jones, another famous halfback, is now the interim coach for them as well.
That'd be cool if he went on to take on his first
Long-time
NRL coaching gig. Yeah, Warriors legend, name synonymous with New Zealand Warriors football, and well, Benji probably says hello, but arguably the best New Zealand half ever. So yeah, that'd be cool if Stacey gets the gig long term.
Yep. So all three of those clubs now, including the Bulldogs, out there looking for coaches. So I covered the stat of never been two coaches sacked on the same day. We've already had three coaches down this season. The most that have been sacked in a season is 5, and that happened 2 years ago. I think the Titans might be in that conversation, or probably should be in that conversation with the way they've been going as well, and see if Holbrook stays with there.
How long? I'm just getting it up there now. Holbrook has been the Titans coach since the start of 2020.
Yeah, he's one of those 5 as in new replacements.
Yeah, his record is 22 wins, 37 losses, 37 win percentage. I'm sure Trent Barrett would have loved to have had a win percentage like that. I think Holbrook might be. I don't think we'll see 5.
I think he got a lot of those wins last season. That's the problem. I think they've won 3 games this year. So
well, if Holbrook goes, then who's your magic number 5?
Yeah.
yeah, well, who's down there? Anthony Griffin, Dragons. Are
Hey,
they next?
We're 9th. There's daylight behind us, bro.
Yeah.
Cook's safe.
So who's?
So you got the Knights sitting there.
Oh, Knights.
Adam
yes.
O'Brien.
Adam O'Brien. Yeah, could be the other one.
Do you know
think-
who I am?
Yeah, exactly.
You got Raiders
Not-
sitting in
not
11th,
anymore.
but Ricky's
Ricky's
pretty safe.
unsackable for I think his
Yes,
his tenure at
Yeah.
the Raiders.
He'll have to get assassinated before he leaves the Raiders job, unfortunately.
Little Lee Harvey Oswald chat there for you.
And then one more game tomorrow.
Yeah, and an interesting one. Historically, the Bulldogs and the Eels, they ran the 1980s.
We didn't cover the fact that the Sharks are probably going to dick the Warriors, but let's just say
Oh, we just
that-
said the games were happening. But
the game's happening.
well,
They'll-
yeah,
they'll
Penrith
win.
probably smacked Newcastle.
Yeah.
What are we now? 320.
And the Eels will probably smack the Bulldogs on Monday night.
Yeah, so I think maybe more the history more interesting than anything.
Yep.
Parramatta, although they should get the win over the Dogs tomorrow. We have the same conversation about them every week. Can they, get above that tier 2 into that first tier?
That just reminded me, I think Jack Hetherington, their prop, and Adam Elliott are both going to the Knights next year.
Yep. And not Adam Elliott because he's at the Raiders.
He's going next year.
He's going.
to the Knights.
Okay.
He's on that one. He's going back to Newcastle for his love.
Millie Boyer.
Yeah, that's how they met initially in Newcastle. That's,
Very good.
That's where their bathroom run-in happens. So
Power couple. Tell you what, I wouldn't want to run it straight at Millie Boyle. I would get absolutely folded in half.
Yes.
She's a strong lady. That'll wrap up our league chat, unless anyone else has any more tidbits.
Nope.
And it leads us into our AFL segment. Obviously, a pleasure to have Steam at the table. Definitely the best AFL head by leaps and bounds here. Thursday night, we had a game. How about this? There's no rugby league on the Thursday. And they go, well, let's have a Thursday game, even though it's
Shock me.
Even though it's a 6-game round. Although we do talk about if there is any code war between the AFL and the NRL, I think the AFL is probably comfortably winning. But yeah, interesting one.
Did they start this game at 8 o'clock though?
Yeah, it was quite 7:50, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, they
Still
do
late
this.
for
So
AFL,
this is the second of the bye rounds. And so they do this during the bye rounds because it's kind of easier to do than during week to week when you'd have to give teams less rest between the games. So both Richmond and Port Adelaide.
I'm
who
pretty sure there's a
played-
lot of other leagues that do this.
I mean, but these two teams played on the Thursday night. They'd had the week off beforehand.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how they justify it.
The Cowboys and Dragons players that are backing up after 2 days of rugby league football say hi. But yeah, interesting, isn't it, to spread it out?
I mean, you don't want to do that every week.
No, of
probably
course.
is more the point.
But it wouldn't be every week. It's only in the bye rounds.
Oh, well, that's why they do it during the bye rounds. That's what I'm saying.
But every week when they've got 2 games that are concurrent on a Friday night, I think it's a little bit annoying.
Oh, yeah, that was weird the other week when they did that game in Perth.
Multiple times this year.
Yeah, game in Perth.
Yeah, multiple times.
Yeah.
And especially when you've got a game in Perth, you'd think that you could start that on a later, like they do in the cricket.
Yeah, true.
If you want to have the double header.
Yeah.
Anyways, Tigers Power, 2 clubs that are sort of there or thereabouts, and a good close-ish, close game. Did you catch much of this one?
Yeah, watch this one. So Port going into the game with a very interesting tactic of no recognised ruckman. Scott Lysett's been injured for them for a long period. Sam Hayes has been their fill-in ruck, but they chose not to go with him and go with forward Jeremy Finlayson, stick him into the ruck to battle big Nank the Tank. So interesting tactic there. Started off all right. Port Adelaide got the opening 2 goals. Then Richmond went on a bit of a run, kicked the next 6. Port Adelaide started tightening it up just before halftime, got the last 3, including a goal to Charlie Dixon right at halftime. So that meant tightened up, and third quarter got very tight. It was only 1 point the difference, 3/4 time. Richmond just finished slightly stronger. Shai Bolton kicked 0-5 on the night, including a dribble kick from about 10 metres out that missed, and it made him look like an absolute fool's head.
I've got Jason Dunstall's voice in my head. Drop punt! Drop punt!
He would have been going off Big Chieftain.
Big Chief, he wouldn't have liked that
Fortunately, it did not cost the Tigers the game, finishing 12-point Victors 11-11-77 over 10-5-65. So they've won 5 of their last 6. Richmond, they're now in the top 8. Set up a very interesting clash with Carlton next week. Port Adelaide, they had been, I think, 4 of their last 5 going into the bye after that horrendous start. Now they've got Sydney next week at Adelaide Oval. So, yes, from where they started, a very long fight uphill to get back into the 8, and it just seems that it's going to be, I think, when you start 0-5, you can hardly afford to drop many games. So you have to be pretty much perfect from then on and probably too tall an order.
With the Tigers, we always got to do Dusty watch. How's Dusty been?
He wasn't very involved. I think he got
kick 2.
Yeah, but
13 posies.
Yeah, played a lot up forward. Fairly even contribution. Worthy mention, it was co-captain Dylan Grimes' 200th game. Started his career battling lots and lots of injuries, but has been very important to them during their period of success. And then this year has been the co-captain alongside Nank the Tank after Koch has passed it over. So good to see him get to that little milestone in his career.
And also worthy of mention, I think Judson Clark, 18-year-old, kicked 2 on debut.
First 2 kicks were goals.
First 2 kicks.
So started hot.
Must be nice. That'd be a nice.
Yeah. So
18-year-old, good on him.
Yeah, made a good contribution early. So.
Into Friday night's game, Bombers and Blues. Now you
Monks, did you watch any of the Bombers game?
I did.
He's gone from fake fan to casual fan in 1 week. Well done.
I mean, I was down at Capital Brewing on the Bucks party.
So what,
in case they want to sponsor an up and coming podcast,
just in case.
Out of our own town. Capital Brewing. Don't mind the Coast Ale.
Should be drinking some of their beverages if we're going to promote them. But anyway,
some of them are hard drinking.
moving on. That's not the point of the story.
Yeah. So
unless they want to sponsor, of course. Give me an XPA. I love XPAs. I'll drink XPAs till the cows come home feel great tomorrow.
Besides having fun at the Bucks, I had the Dragons on one TV. I had the Bombers on the other.
Jeez, that would have been.
I was just in between both TVs.
I was suicide watching the third.
Just to interrupt, Trent Naden just got sent off for a spear tackle.
Trent Naden did.
Oh, not your mate. Got him. Brett Naden, sorry. Shout out, Trent.
He donates $7 a skull. He gets sent off for a spear tackle.
Oh,
fair. Okay,
face first.
Yeah, Jakey Turbo. I think he's okay. He's bounced off that big melon of his. But Brent Naden.
Sorry. Too many Nadens.
Has been sent pretty hard, you'd think, for the West Tigers here on
they're done. Man, they'll win that game.
Friday night
Bombers Blues. Now, you had a flight coming over from Adelaide to the nation's capital, which got delayed, and it kind of worked out advantageously for
could sit there on the phone
Blue viewing
and watch. Watched bits and pieces here as we kind of got told, yes, we're going to fly. No, we're not going to fly. Yes, we are going to fly. But it seemed like it was good. Big Harry Mackay was back. Had been out for a few weeks with a MCL injury, and he looked like he had sticky hands. Oh, yeah. He was back in good form. I think he had 3 goals, if memory serves. Yep. Charlie might have had 2.
Yep.
So good to see the big pair of power forwards back working in tandem. 150th year anniversary celebrations for the Bombers.
Wild, 1877.
And so they had quite a few of their old legends out there on the game. Pre-game, big. They all got there in the circle for the pre-game speech from Dyson Heppel, but couldn't get it done. They were competitive and played with pretty good spirit. I think in the second half, Bombers had kind of forward 50 advantage, had lots of forward 50 entries, but I think there was a period where they kicked 1 goal 6, something, so they couldn't take advantage of it. And I think that is Carlton's weakness. If you can get the ball into the D50, it can get stuck there for a while. there are times when it takes a while to actually transition it out. Carlton obviously red hot from the centre square clearance and can get it into those tools, and they can score quickly that way, but they can get stuck a bit if it gets into the D50. And I think the last quarter, a bit of rain started sprinkling down, and so I don't think either team kicked a goal in the last quarter. Actually, but Carlton were about 26-point victors, take them to 9-3 on the season.
Your quick maths was right there. I said 1877 is 150 years, so it's 1872. I've just been mulling over that for the last 90 seconds whilst you break down this game. Cripper, 28 and a goal. Brownlow votes?
Doc probably gets 3.
Yeah, he had 30,
I would have
33,
thought.
24 kicks.
I don't know. Walshy got a few touches as well. Dylan Shield was probably the best for the Bombers.
Parrish had a real quiet.
Then maybe Cripps, Hewitt, or Mackay.
Chera injury?
He was out in the first quarter. Not sure exactly what with, but they are thinking that maybe he'll miss next week as well.
You chase that one up, Adam. Chera. It's been very good since coming across from Fremantle. Saturday's games.
Speaking of Fremantle.
Yeah, nice little segue there into the Dockers. Now, Hawthorn are a bit of an enigma, aren't they? Sometimes they look like crap when they get dusted by the Gold Coast Suns, or and then sometimes they push Fremantle.
They play to the level of competition.
Yeah, they do give the top teams plenty.
Yep.
Don't they?
Smacked up Port Adelaide earlier in the year. Lost by a point to Carlton.
Beat the Lions.
Beat the Lions a couple of weeks ago.
And they gave Freo plenty. Hawks were in front at half time. It was really just a big third quarter from the Dockers. 6-2 in that third quarter that kind of got them back in front and saw them come away with the victory. Andy Brayshaw, as he's been doing all season, was once again best on field, 37 touches, 1 goal, probably a few more Brownlow votes to him. He'll be high up in the count at this point in the season. Dockers, they must be 10-3 heading into their bye next week. Very, very nicely placed. And the Hawks, I think their fans would be happy with what they're getting from their team. As we said, they are really being competitive and pushing the top teams in the table. James Sicily last year, gone all year, ACL back this year. He's made a big difference for them.
And possibly All-Australian, which we'll talk about in a second.
Giant Newcomb, as you said, he's in the thick of the Rising Star race. So I think they've, even though they're not in the top 8, Hawks fans probably happy with what they're getting from their team week in, week out, know that they're going to actually compete with the teams up the top end of the ladder and give a good showing of themselves.
Yeah,
so.
well, they've turned the corner a bit. There's hope and there's a future there now.
Yeah.
I think so.
And they're 4-9, but it doesn't feel like 4-9.
And Mitch Lewis has probably been their full forward who they drafted the same year. They Sam Mitchell and Jordan Lewis left the club.
And they get the hybrid name.
Yeah, and then they get Mitch Lewis. He's been a bit of a project as a big tall forward. He's come on leaps and bounds this year as well. So there's a few players there in Newcomb and Lewis that they've really seen taking good strides this year. So, although they're 4-9, I think as a Hawks fan, you'd be reasonably happy with what your teams bring into the table each week.
Or North Melbourne at the moment. So.
Indeed. And not even in the same conversation. If you they only just lost to Melbourne a few weeks ago. They're knocking off some good teams, and then the games that they're losing, they're not getting blown off the park by any means.
Yep.
Saturday afternoon.
Just before we go to that,
Shara.
He suffered hamstring tightness, so probably missed next week's clash.
Okay, so low grade.
Hope he's back. Yeah,
it seems.
And Parrish had a quiet night because he got subbed out for a corked calf. Yeah,
calf. He was limping around. Yeah. They were trying to play him up in the forward half, but
Like they hurt. Has anyone had a corked calf before?
No.
Not calf,
I've had a couple
just,
before.
Just thighs.
Yeah, also not much calf. To,
What I was looking around. I was like, "Who's going to do it? Like, who's going to? Yeah, anyone going to take it?"
It's a wide open goal. The goalie's not there. The goalie's having a smoke break. And the goalie's come back and he's put it in his own net. I've had it. They fucking hurt. Like
I can imagine they would.
and can hang around
Just
for 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can hang around. So
Sure, yours wasn't a bone bruise?
It could have been. My calf might have been so small that it might have had been knocked into my actual tibia and had infiltrated the bone.
I had to do it.
Yeah, you got to do something. Bit of calf gear. John Jones says hi. Yeah.
Lions and Saints.
Small calf boys roll together. Let's go. Me and John Jones on this table versus any two of you. Let's go. Yeah, John, keep in there. Good work. All right. Lions, Saints. Lions keep the party rolling. They got 10-3 with the win. Shauno, did you see any of this? Did you see highlights?
I didn't get to see any of this. I checking the stats. Lockie Neal probably gets another 3 votes. In
37 he had.
Of course, I think Jared had another good game. They've got Hugh Luggage back and he's been...
You know you need to say his surname.
Berry.
McCluggage and Berry.
Yeah, but when you say... I don't know. You can say Jared. I don't know. Like Jared, Jared from...
Yeah.
They might not have any other Jareds in the team.
Jared from Subway.
Jared Lyons.
There you go.
Jared from Subway. My neck looks like a vagina. I'm on the Subway diet like Jared. Shout out.
Yes,
Fiddled some kids, I believe.
Barry
I think we
Barry
can
had
shout
a
him
good
out.
game. And Nick Luggage, the suitcase, had a good game as well.
I think
He's been back for 2 weeks.
Saints were in front at half time. So Saints kind of started well. It was pretty low scoring first half. A few free kicks to Max King. Saw them on the board early. But Saints, I think, had a few head knock injuries to worry about. Mitch Owens was a guy that cheapy that a lot of fantasy guys had their eyes on. I think in the second quarter got a head knock. Basically just a front-on collision. 2 guys both going for the ball. So he was subbed out.
He's big-bodied midfielder.
And then in the third quarter, I think a winger, Daniel McKenzie, he went up for a mark and he was going back with a fly, and Charlie Cameron was leading for the ball and kind of ended up that as McKenzie went up, like Cameron, not intentionally, kind of very accidentally kind of took out his feet. And so he kind of had both hands on the ball and didn't really brace his fall. Kind of got quite a slap on the head as he kind of fell. So he was out of the game from that point on as well. So yeah, the Saints had to kind of deal with a few of those injuries, and Lions ran over the top of them in the second half. Smoking Joe Danaher was back. He'd been out a few weeks, and it was first time this year that Danaher, Hipwood and McStay all in the same team, obviously because Hipwood been out and Danaher been out. So probably take a few weeks to get that chemistry back for those boys having not played together for any of the year up to this point. So, but Lions fans will be happy to see all 3 of them out on the park together.
Maybe that resulted in Cam Rayner having a bit of a quieter game in this one.
Well, Hipwood quiet as well. 10 posies. They just kicked the 1 minor.
What did Rayner have? Because I think he started
2 behinds.
Yeah, 2 behinds, 14 posies.
8
tackles,
8
not bad.
tackles, yeah.
Tackling pressure, don't mind that out of a small forward sometimes.
Got a lot of good guys to fill in that forward line, which is, I guess you want to have that problem instead of not.
And currently, the GWS Giants taking on the North Melbourne Kangaroos at Marvel Stadium. A lot of concern about crowd numbers here. But interesting, maybe if you can bring that up amongst on the KO. Obviously GWS don't have a massive following.
Is it on the KO?
in Melbourne.
In Australia. And North Melbourne has been struggling to attract crowds when they play, bigger Melbourne teams. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone's there. Well, it doesn't look too bad in there, Marvel, from scanning the field in 2 seconds. But the Giants are off to a very quick start, 25 points to 2 with 4 minutes left.
And this game is Callan Ward's 200th game for GWS, inaugural member of their team, skipper for a long period of time, and first guy to do it for the club.
Okay.
I think he was.
Cool.
I think he's consistently kind of been first one to 100, first one to 150. So first one to 200 for. Oh, look at that! He gets the ball just as we're.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
But so I think that brings him to 260 for the career. Played 60 with the Western Bulldogs before heading across to Giants. But a good achievement from inaugural Giant and skipper for a long time to get 200 for the club. First one to do it.
Nice reminiscing with you here on my left, Steam. I don't get the nostalgia so much when we talk to you via the Skype or whatever program that is. To Microsoft Teams, coming from the most computer illiterate person here. Remember being at the first Giants win ever?
Against the Gold Coast Suns.
Yeah, and the song came on and no one knew what to do.
Including the players.
No one had any idea. So, historic.
People got around it, though, in the lead up to the 2019 grand final, the big sound.
Yeah, and then it was one of the worst AFL grand finals of all time. But
don't worry about it.
Don't worry about that one.
Anyway.
Toby Green's dad doesn't remember
life under Spike McVeigh looking all right for the Giants.
That is it. Jason Horn,
Jason Horn Francis.
Francis.
Yes, the Insta handle there, Horn 7.
Yeah, we mentioned this fake
which
trade.
is weird because his number is 6. But anyway,
we mentioned this fake trade and that post that had been floating around last week. And it came out during the week that he actually liked that fake trade. So I thought we'd throw it there. Maybe a little bit disgruntled with the way North Melbourne's going and all that chat and speculation that he potentially may want out.
Are we speculating about a like?
Okay.
No.
All the headlines was that he needs media training. The press need the social media dude at the Kangaroos needs to talk to him.
I think everything with this kid...
liking something.
Yeah, but for him moving to a different club, I think's the problem. That he is.
It's funny.
It is. Well, I guess it is funny, but it also is sending the wrong message to all your fans.
The wrong message from liking.
I think there's probably that he went back to South Australia without telling the Kangaroos.
That's a big.
And so that it's probably a combination, overall, yes. Like the layers of these things is probably like if this happens, on its own, you go whatever. So, after he's already had a little. Trip back to SA without telling anyone.
No way. This reeks of Daily Mail.
writing on the wall where the smoke is probably flying.
Writing on the wall / liking on the social medias.
We do see a lot of it happen in the NFL throughout the season and stuff, just random.
Who gives a fuck?
Well, it's to show your displeasure with the current club you're at, and it gets the conversation started. Port Adelaide go, oh, really? Maybe I'll pick up the phone and I'll call the GM and say, hey,
so the trade is they have to give up Zach Butters, first rounder, second rounder for JHF and a third rounder. Yeah. I mean, they may not want to do that, actually. They might be happy with Butters, a first rounder, second rounder. So, also in no way Port Adelaide have consented to this trade. It's purely someone...
But does it start the instigation of picking that phone up is what I'm getting at? Do they put that call in and say, hey, can we get him on the cheap because he wants out?
We still talking about this?
Yep.
I'm going to keep going.
Tomorrow is... What is good to talk about? Tomorrow, Queen's birthday
there's another Adelaide
clash.
Team he could potentially go to.
Yes, of course. Moving on. But the Big Freeze game, I think it's MND 8, I think we're up to now. Of course, happens every year. Queen's birthday, Melbourne Demons, Collingwood Magpies, and raise funds for fight motor neuron disease. So we have that to look forward to tomorrow. Demons coming off 2 losses, as we highlighted. Have the mop to kind of tidy themselves up a bit before this. But the Magpies are in good form. They've kind of a couple of close wins in the past few weeks. Who did they get last week? Hawthorn. They got the Blues before that. I think they were in the 8 prior to the start of the round. So this should be a good game on Queen's birthday. Looking forward to it.
Trying to find out
it's a good time to get
who the sliders are.
Turmoil and they're coming off 2 losses.
They got them last year. Last year was the Nathan Buckley farewell game on Queen's birthday, and Magpies got them then. And so, they're going to make it 2 years in a row.
Some sliders include Terry Danaher, of Brother of Neil fame, Eddie Betts, Hamish Blake, David Neitz, Demon legend, just to name a few. Have you blokes read the Neil Danaher autobiography?
No, I haven't.
Very good, very good.
read,
Yeah,
I
very
imagine.
good. Had a horrible run of injury as a player as well, and then famously coached. I think over 300 AFL games. Good read. Out of Ungari, New South Wales. Shout out to that small town just down the road from West Wyalong.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. The more you know. We already gave out mops for May and Melksham. Don't really need to cover again. Halfway through the year,
Scroll down a bit more, mate.
let's start talking All-Australian teams. Now, AFL.com, they named a mid-season team. Steam, do you want to run us through this one?
Yeah, so the full back line, Tom Stewart from Geelong, Stephen May from Melbourne, Jacob Wiedering from Carlton, halfbacks, Jack Sinclair, James Sicily and Sam Doherty. The centres and wings, Bailey Smith, Clayton Oliver, Ed Langdon. Half forwards, Shai Bolton, Charlie Curnow, Christian Petrarca. Full forwards, Tom Hawkins, Jeremy Cameron, and I think that's Charlie Cameron. I see around the camera.
Yep, it is.
Followers were Big Max, Lockie Neal, and Andy Brayshaw. And on the bench was Jared Witts, Took Miller, Patrick Cripps, and Callum Mills. And that was from all the journos at AFL.com.
Do you think they got any there? You're going to obviously run us through your All-Australian. Anyone in that team that you think is maybe a bit contentious?
Well, as you guys would know, in the last few weeks with Origin, rep teams always create a bit of discussion, a bit of banter, a bit of who would I pick if I was the selector. So I had cast my mind over the season that's been and kind of projecting as to what may happen. There were a few that I shuffled around a few players, a few are going out and a few are coming in my All-Australian team. So Tom Stewart and Stephen May, happy with those in the fullback line. Jacob Wiedering is my boy, and if he had not done his shoulder last week, I'd be very happy to keep him there. If you're just only considering what has happened to this point in the season, yes. If you're considering what will happen the rest of the season, I had to go in favour of Alex Pearce from Fremantle. Had a horror run with injuries throughout his career, but he's been back. He's been consistent this year, been a pillar of that Fremantle defence that has been stingy, been a big reason for their rise up the ladder this year. So, Wiedering out, Pearce into the full-back line there. Half-backs, I had no issue with Jack Sinclair, Sicily and Doherty. All some great stories in there, in Sicily and Doc.
Isn't it?
And
unreal.
Yeah, Sinclair has been real good for the Saints. That big flowing mullet, you can't miss him whenever he gets near the ball.
Need a few flying mullets in an All-Australian team, surely.
Yeah, well, I took one out. I took out Bailey Smith, and this is probably something we haven't talked about. This was breaking news yesterday. Yeah, I don't know if you guys
bit of white
caught
powder.
much of this. Yeah, so
The nose candy.
I took him out of the team based on being suspended for the next 2 weeks of the headbutt. And so I've moved Callum Mills, who the journos put him on the bench. I've put him into the winger spot, and he's the guy I could see him rolling back into the D50 as well. Cripps, I put him also from the bench, put him into the centre.
He has to start. No bias, but he has to start.
I think
the potential Brownlow.
I think the
medalist.
impact that he's had on the scoreboard this year has been really good, and Ed Langdon is the best winger in the game. He's the for a pure winger and run as much as he does. He never subs off. Had to kind of keep him on there as a specialist pure winger. Half forwards, Shai Bolton and Charlie Curnow, locked them in, but the journos put Petrarca in the half forward. I thought Zach Bailey was super stiff not to get a mention from them. I think he's in the high 20s for goals on the season. So, project that forward probably into the 40s, maybe crack 50.
Out of a small forward. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, he he and his mate there at Brisbane, Charlie Cameron, are probably the two best small forwards in the game. So I had to have both of them in my team as a specialist forward, rather than just trying to pick as many midfielders as you can and play them out of position.
And Petrarca arguably hasn't had the form that he had last year.
I think the last 2 weeks of Petrarca's form like bit of recency bias is sticking in my mind.
Recency bias is a thing.
He's a great player of the competition.
Of course. Hot as fuck.
Yeah, but I tried to think about actually playing players in their proper positions.
Yeah. Yep.
So going with that, I didn't want to go with the two twin forwards of Hawkins and Cameron from Geelong, and instead went with Max King. Just got to remember several games this year against Richmond and against Adelaide. He essentially won the game off his own boot. And so Max King, Jeremy Cameron and Charlie Cameron be my full forward line. Then did some shuffling and had Max Scorn, Lockie Neal and Clayton Oliver, who the journos put him at centre. I've put him on ball. And then that kind of means that, unfortunately, Andy Brayshaw, very, very stiff to be moved to the bench.
He's got rigor mortis.
Yeah. Happy with Witts and Miller on the bench. And I've put Josh Dunkley as more of a forward option.
Yep.
Goes forward and can clunk a mark and kick a goal. So he can play mid, he can play forward, so he gives a bit more versatility than just probably another straight midfielder. So basically, that was Wiedering, Smith, Petrarca, Hawkins out, Pearce, Bailey, King, Dunkley in. But I think I also considered Sam Collins for that tall defender role. He's very good. And Sam Walsh, Kelly, Josh Kelly are kind of thinking about what they may do in the second half of the year. Walshy missed, I think, the first match against the Tigers, and Kelly has been hot the last 3-4 weeks. And then Tyson Stengel, I think, has been reinvigorated, playing at Geelong. Obviously got the two big boys there in Cameron and Hawkins, who he can crumb and feed off. But he's been very good. I think he's in the 20s as well for goals on the season. So
bit of a career resurrection as well.
He's probably behind Bailey and Cameron. He's the third one in that small forward that you would pick, I reckon.
Zach Bailey had 27 goals. Back to previous discussion. Charlie Cameron 31. So halfway through the year, and you got 58 goals out of your two key smalls.
I think Lincoln McCarthy's been good.
Yeah.
So they're doing all right up there in Brisbane.
Indeed. I like what you're talking about there. I think Paddy Cripps, obviously, we're both Carlton fans, but I think he has to be a starting All-Australian. Be interesting, obviously, to see what happens with Bailey Smith moving forward. He's got the 2 weeks for the headbutt. He won't get suspended for the alleged substance. It'll all be internal.
Well, it's kind of coincided, like at the start of pre-season, he took some time off for mental health, and AFL is actually pretty notorious for, like, you get a 3-strike policy and it's not kind of made public so long as you haven't gone and done other infractions if you've been on a substance. So they keep it pretty quiet.
Yeah, so is it certainty that it was the white powder, or they're just saying that he's got a strike?
He then released a statement saying he's got a lot of work to do on himself, and after the grand final was in a pretty low space, and didn't explicitly admit to this is drugs and I was doing drugs, blah blah blah. But if you kind of read between the lines, it was kind of an apology for and if he's
for something illicit.
Well, that's right. He has to be apologising for something. Then
I was just snorting talcum powder, dude. That's all it was. White powder.
Too much baby oil.
Yeah, it's a good looking rooster. It'd be interesting to see what happens, but I think obviously the rest of his season might be a little.
We reckon get that AA team up on a social, and maybe a bit of banter. If you at us, if you don't agree with what I've done of my selections,
Steam's happy to wear a little bit of back and forth in the comments. Just need Monkey to be active on social media, and we'll be sorted.
Yeah. You can do that.
You can do that. Come on, public holiday tomorrow. You don't
That's it.
You don't have fucking anything to do.
Yeah. No.
Surely.
It's good inspiration. I need inspiration.
Okay.
So that gives me something to do.
Thank you very much for your insights there on the AFL team. We'll keep maybe half an eye on this GWS.
Not much to watch, I think.
North Melbourne game at
39 to
Marvel
3
Stadium.
currently.
Shit pumping.
Let's talk a little bit of NFL news. This is more. I used to go for my wee break in the F1, but I'm
Mixed the segments around tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm also confident in the boys' ability to run us through some.
Does
NFL
that say
news.
more about the other segments, how confident you are in the ability?
I'm more confident with you sitting next to me. That is definitely
On to the NFL.
Tell me what you really think.
I just did, and it's on the internet. We can timestamp it in 10 years' time.
All right.
Bring
2
it up.
hours, 2 hours
Yeah.
out in.
Dollars
NFL.
getting
NFL.
spent this week.
Yeah, can you get out?
They
maybe?
are.
Yeah, interesting question there. Don't mind me. I will work
Maybe
it
do
out.
that. Maybe do that first and see if we can slide out. There's probably not enough room around me.
Oh, yep. Someone's got to keep talking.
Right, NFL this week. Rams
Rams
don't have
care
a
about
salary cap, apparently. They can just pay whoever they want, however much they want.
Pretty much.
So-
So the big one, I guess, is Aaron Donald being paid the highest paid defensive player in the NFL to kick us off. Had the retirement chat after the Super Bowl, but he's come back and got a huge deal for him. I think there was a huge signing bonus, etc. But I think it was over 100 mil, wasn't it, in total?
Just bringing it up
Jimmy?
now. So he signed a 3-year, $95 million contract extension. He receives 65 mil in guarantees, of which 46.5 mil is guaranteed at signing.
Yep. And I think he had this year, and he was getting up to close to 20 mil anyway. So yes, he potentially could make over 100 mil in the next couple of seasons. Cooper Kupp also got paid. What did he get? He got a 4-year deal as well for bucketloads of money.
80 or so, I think it was.
80 or so mil.
Yeah.
So huge money outlaid for the Rams players there. Hunter Renfrow was the other one that got signed during the week.
Extended by the
2
Raiders.
years, 23 mil, I believe. So I've seen a lot of memes going around that the Raiders got the same player for half the cost. But I think Cooper's probably pushed himself into a different level last season. But Hunter's been good. But I think
he'll go well at the Raiders with Daniels as the head coach, been very successful with Welker and Edelman, who similar kind of mould to Renfrow.
Yeah, didn't do too well at Denver though, old Joshy McD. So we'll see what he does as the Raiders head coach.
True. I didn't say the Raiders would go well. So I said Renfrow would go well.
True. He'll get bulk targets, and with Adams there, and hopefully Wallace healthy next season, he'll have a good season. The chat, we're talking about salary cap. The chat's all week been about the loophole that Rams are using because they've added basically all these voidable years on the end of the contracts. So it really depends on how well they're doing. So though it's a big number, realistically it's not a big number depending on how long they play for. But it'll depend then on how the signing bonus works out because that gets prorated over the years and how much they do up front and what's guaranteed, what's not. And the Rams have a very good salary cap guy because they do like to trade away picks to get veterans to build. That's how they build their squad to then potentially win a Super Bowl and hopefully repeat.
I think they do like to go superstars and then budget pieces.
Yeah.
They don't really have middle class guys on their team, do they? It's either superstars or like budget pieces around.
Yeah,
it.
you think of their draft classes in the recent years, and you
draft classes?
Exactly. They don't have a whole lot of draftee of young guys in that squad. It's all the big superstars they've added from all over the place, and it worked. They won a Super Bowl. We'll have to see if they can repeat that going forward.
So what else has been happening in the NFL? Got a note here, Madden 23 trailer.
Oh, yes. Madden for this year. They've dropped the official trailer. It's like a 4-minute trailer, actually. But most of it covers the new Field Sense marketing thing that they've delivered. Basically, they've actually got some football players and tag them up with the 3D scan and actually got them to run, block, do all the actual things, and now they've created a whole new animation system for the gameplay. So
individualized to each player.
Not to that quite level. I think they've basically got like 3 dudes, and I don't actually think they were NFL players. They might be college players, but they've geared them up and scanned them to try to get better gameplay throughout. So Marlon Humphrey, who was
Ravens
cornerback, gets knocked over in this trailer by Nick Chubb, and he was getting at him at social media. So my career's over. So they redid another cut with him tackling Nick Chubb and said, there you go, we'll help you out.
Right.
But yeah, whole new gameplay systems, whole new movements. So hopefully they've invested a bit more in the actual trying to make it look more realistic to they actually run like NFL players versus run like video game dudes. So this is what I'm talking about with the animation of actually getting players, getting people and then scanning them to actually doing proper animations and tackles. Yeah. So instead of just trying to generate it.
It was Josh Allen.
Josh Allen's
tackling Josh Allen.
Josh Allenception.
Does the game actually change at all?
I don't know. That'd be the good question. Last year's game was a copy of the previous year's game. So I think that this is the big market piece to try and say, hey, we've tried to make improvements and make the game a better quality.
Cover? Any hints on the cover?
Any curses?
Madden.
Oh, yes.
John Madden.
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
True.
There's a bunch of other editions. I think JJ Watt might be on an all Madden edition, but the base game, I think, will have John as the cover.
Appropriate.
Yes.
I believe so. And Romeo Crennel retired this week. 50 years in coaching. That's a
long time.
That's a very long time.
Well, you think of how many head coaching gigs he had.
He's been around, probably not worth trying to mention the number of teams he's been involved in because we'll be here all day.
Head coaching gigs,
Cleveland.
Browns, Texans.
I think he was D coordinator at Pats during their Super Bowl run. The first, first trilogy.
That long-term coach, been around the league for a very long time, and finally hangs it up after 50 years.
He's 74.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good time to retire.
That's dedicating yourself to the NFL.
Bit of money being spent on the Rams this week, but also on the Broncos.
Yeah, a lot more money.
Loads of more money. Official, they did I think it probably ended up being the third round of bids on Monday, so that they got from that they had 4 groups that were putting forward for bids. The Walton Group, which is the Walmart family, essentially, ended up winning the bid. Initial chat was around $4 billion would be the starting point. It ends up being sold for reportedly $4.65 billion. Yeah, which is a fuckload of money. But then when you remember that that family is worth $60 billion,
damn,
they'll just write a check and be happy with that.
Is the family worth $60 billion or is he worth?
He's worth $60 billion.
I'm pretty sure the family is
worth a lot more. Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you see them remake the Broncos logo in the Walmart colours after the purchase?
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what happens, whether there's a jersey switch up a little bit, of course staying with the colours, but whether new jerseys, whether they tweak the logo or
brought to you by Walmart.
New stadium is probably the biggest chat now that because their cousin of course owns the not St. Louis anymore, the LA Rams Stan, what's his last name? Knock or something. Anyway, you guys
I can chase that up.
You can chase that up for me. They just, of course, building their stadium over there in LA.
I'm trying to Google Mile High Stadium and I keep getting Mile High Club.
Favourite searches and turn off. Yeah.
Team incognito mode. Richie incognito mode. There you go. There's one for you.
So the chat also has been that they want to get Peyton Manning as an advisor into this group as well. So potentially getting some equity in the club. Because he's worth several $100 million. So he probably won't get a huge share, but he could get a share and then potentially be that face a little bit for that group, because they, of course, don't want to be facing the media and potentially not turn up to all the owners' meetings. So if they can put Peyton in that position, maybe he can do all that for them. But stats, biggest sale of an American franchise, sports franchise. So they're definitely number one there. The Panthers were number two. Their owner, David Tipper, I think it was, he was worth 17 bill. So he was the second richest, well, now the second richest owner in the NFL. So big chasm between those guys now.
Chasm was right.
Yeah.
Either way.
I've got here the New York Jets was
Mets.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, you continue. Wow. Sorry about that.
So,
dyslexic exception.
Yeah.
I've already looked this up. So, the Mets.
You've already looked this up.
The Mets, I think there was 2.23 for the Panthers, 2.21 for the Mets.
I've got 2.4.
There you go. Well,
Inflation.
Anyway.
Yeah. So that was, you can see and the other thing is the Panthers sold in 2018 for 2.2, whatever it was.
Different climate, bro. Pre-COVID.
4 years later and double the money.
Yep.
So, it shows how quickly the NFL is growing as well, and all the deals and the money going into the sport. Overall, worldwide, depending on the Chelsea sale, will decide on who's 1 and 2. I saw as recently as a couple of weeks ago that there was a 7.5 bill for Chelsea.
It's reported.
I'd seen
dollary
3
dues.
and 5 bill as well. So depending on where they sell, they'll probably end up being wanting to anyway.
Yeah.
So
7.5 seems like a lot.
yeah.
Maybe it's in Zimbabwean dollars. LA Rams owner is Stan Kroenke, or maybe Kronk.
Yeah.
He also, his company owns Arsenal.
Yep. He used to own all the Denver teams besides the Broncos, sold them all to them by the Rams. Because I think that was probably in the 90s after Pat Bowlen took over. Because that was a Invesco Field, which is now Mile High Stadium.
Yep, 95, I think.
There you go.
It's 2002.
Stadium chat.
Yeah.
Anyway, is that NFL done?
That'll do NFL.
Off-season news, that's it.
Yeah, not much else happening.
On to...
Final round.
You do the sound effect.
The final round. Ding, ding. UFC 275 has just completed in Singapore, and we have had some interesting results. Let's start from the top of the card.
Yeah, go for it.
Glover Teixeira was the incumbent champion, taking on number 2 ranked in the light heavyweight division, Yuri Prochazka. A 5-round war unfolded before our eyes, but we were podcasting, talking about rugby league. Sean, you seem to be keeping a good eye on this one.
Yeah, caught enough.
You reckon going into the 5th round, it might have been 2 rounds apiece, perhaps?
Yeah, it looked that way, and they were landing shots left, right, and centre. And Glover has great power as in this too, and I think was probably winning that 5th round. Had Yuri very much damaged and potentially on his way out, but managed to get into the wrestle, get the takedown, and then. So it wasn't a full rear naked choke. It was kind of more like a sideways. He wasn't fully on the back.
Had him turtled up.
Yeah,
kind of thing,
turtled up, but he got the arms in there and got the choke. Got the submission with 30 seconds to go. Going to judge's decision, he probably loses.
Yeah, I'd agree. So in terms of that, can anyone remember a 5th round finish with 30 seconds to go from the fighter that was losing?
I think, not losing, because I think Mighty Mouse won a fight with like a second to go in the championship rounds. But I don't
Derek
think he was
Lewis do like a finish once in a? I don't know if it was a 5-round, might have been 3-round, but it might have been pretty tight. That might have been like
possibly.
Time that he took his pants off because he was a bit too hot. But he finished someone late in a fight.
Championships wise, Anderson Silva. Did it against Channel Sona because he
Channel Sona.
Channel Surfer.
Yes, Channel Surfer. Sorry, because Anderson Silva was out wrestled for 4 and a bit rounds of that, and then got the triangle choke from the back in the 5th round to win it.
You know what would be great when Elon Musk comes up with this Neuralink thing, and me, and you. Now, what we need to do is I just do the names, and we've got your recall of fights because like that would be all right. That would be all right.
Yeah, well, concussions is this is the problem. This is what you become.
You blame concussion.
Oh, I've had fuckloads.
I've had luck votes. So Yuri Prohaka, let's talk about him. A kickboxer. He only started fighting.
Samurai background.
Yeah,
So
I think
Is that why he has that hairstyle? Because that was all I could look at during the fight. I couldn't concentrate on anything else.
You should have seen him.
I would have no idea who was
during-
winning or losing.
Let me put it this way: during fight week, it was much bigger. He'd cut it for the fight.
Really?
So he had it was a big fall, and then it went like down to his shoulders. Kind of. It was like big hair. So yeah, he trimmed it up.
Is there a rule about can you like pull it? Like, is there?
I don't know. I don't think you
Because I think in like
you're not allowed to do hand pulls
in like union and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just part of like the jersey or something. Like you can like
American football's
yeah.
But you look at all the chicks fights, so that's why they wear dreads, so it doesn't get in the way. So it's not
True,
in your eyes
true,
and things like
but
that. I think Masvidal's probably he's had one where it's come out, like his dreads have come out, and it's more an issue for him because Benson, that happened to Benson in a lightweight fight. Because he had it in a band. The band came out and he had hair all like sweat and then it's sticking to his face. It's like
Right.
it actually becomes more of a
Is it just like
inhibited
maybe it's not a
use.
rule, but it's a gentleman's or ladies' agreement that
I don't really think I've
no
seen a full
touching
hair.
of the hair and or face.
You can't grab the cage, so I guess hair pull's probably a bit out too. Can't bite.
Anyway, a digression.
It's a dog.
I digress.
It was good to see. I think he saw him with Jan afterwards, going a bit back and forth. So both being Eastern Europeans, whether that's the chat for the next
Poland versus Czech Republic.
Yep.
What about Yuri's record here? I'm just having a look. Obviously, only
13 fight win streak, I think, after that.
Yeah, only his third fight in the UFC. Some pretty handy scalps in Glover, Dominic Reyes, and Volkan Ozdemir. But before that, was fighting in Rizin, which is kickboxing out of Japan, and was just on an absolute hater of a win streak. Hasn't lost a fight since 2015, and has had really a meteoric ascendancy here in the UFC. What was I trying to say before? Oh, I don't think he really fought. Yeah, that's right. He didn't fight growing up. He played soccer and was a bit of a football hooligan.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Eastern Europeans, football hooligan. Imagine that. You go down and go watch, whatever teams are in fucking Prague, fucking North Prague versus South Prague. Oh god, I hate South Prague.
No, Czech Republic versus Serbia, and then afterwards.
Don't know if they're arch enemies either. But anyways, moving forward, he didn't really find the fight game until watching the movie Never Back Down of Amber Heard fame of defecating on the she defecated on the bed fame. That's by Johnny Depp. Interesting to see the ebbs and flows of how the world goes around. Amber Heard been through the ringer, if you will, and now the champion of the light heavyweight division in the UFC is Yuri Prohaska.
And probably more in this fight shown that he has holds. He's hittable. Glover definitely was doing some damage.
Yeah, working,
in this,
but definitely the biggest working that he's had.
Yeah, he's been dominant elsewise. So yeah,
Where to for Glover now? 42 years of age, doesn't really have anything to prove. I think the big
does he make another run? I don't know.
Well, the big question mark was always he wasn't a champion, and now he has been a champion. Does he have anything else to prove?
Probably not. You could do some fun fights in that division, but there's plenty of. That division, since Jones has left, has so many guys kind of in the same state now that they haven't really set a pecking order.
It's more interesting.
Yeah, so there's every fight is it'll be a big fight
Exactly.
in the top 10.
So he's not going to get immediate rematch or anything.
No.
So he's probably got to wait a year, 18 months or something like that.
Yeah,
Which
maybe 12 months.
But when you're 42, that's a long time.
Bloody oath.
Definitely. He definitely, I'd say he'd need one more fight to reinsert himself as the number one contender to then get the title fight.
Right.
That's generally what happens in that space. But yeah, that problem is that that fight and for that number one contender is still going to be a top 5
Against
guy.
a mauler.
So yeah, exactly. And at 42, do you want to make another run at the belt?
True.
Well, Peps, you just mentioned ebbs and flows before. And then, Steamer, you just mentioned the mauler. Alexander Gustafsson is coming back and he's fighting light heavyweight after a few years out of the ring.
And we talked about that last week.
In August.
Because
I think it's July or August.
his last victory was against Socceroos. So
There you go.
Has he been fighting in any organisation?
Nope,
or he's
retired.
He's just had
He
time off.
retired, yeah.
he tried to be a Swedish model for a little while.
Pretty good looking for a fight. I don't know
Except-
about those,
About the years.
those cauliflower ears.
I think he was doing suits. Yeah, so him dressed up suits.
Just neck down.
It'd be interesting to see if the Mauler comes back. Had a 3-loss streak after that John Jones war. That was the second time. It was the first time he fought Jones where it went the distance way back in 2013.
Which he potentially won that fight. But yes, then lost to John Jones. Then I think he went up to heavyweight for... What did he do for that? Oh, Anthony Smith got him in that submission.
Yeah, and he fought Fabricio Verdum.
I think he came very...
That was his heavyweight debut. Then.
Yeah, I think he was a bit unders for Anthony Smith. I think he kind of I'd hit the wall in John Jones and where's my fight career going? Hence why he tried to go to heavyweight, retired. He's like, I've lost the passion essentially.
Sure.
And he's coming back, obviously found that groove hopefully again, and we'll see what he looks like.
And if you come back after a few years off, it's not that easy, which is our segue into the women's...
No, it's not quite right. So one fight.
I went early, man.
Kind of
I went
already.
early.
Well, we kind of already chatted about this. Do we need to say too much more?
Finish it off.
Yeah, so Valentina Shevchenko, by a bee's dick, has held on to her belt as women's flyweight champ, was obviously short price favourite. Everyone that I was listening to in the lead-up had Bullet winning this pretty comfortably. And Talia Santos absolutely worked her, especially in the first few rounds. Got the back a few times, was nearly able to finish the fight. It seemed just didn't quite have enough under the chin there of Valentina Shevchenko, and Shevchenko was able to win via split decision. And we don't know how the judges have scored this, but someone scored it 49-46, and no judge scored it the same.
Yeah, so there was the two 48-47s, one for each one, and then someone did Valentina with the 49-46, which potentially could be a 4-1, which if that was the case, that judge should probably be fired. That's a fucking travesty if you're watching that fight. Maybe there's some combination of the math that, yes.
3-2 with a 10-8.
Yeah, with a 10-8, yes. Gets there. But... Yeah, I think overall it's fair for her to win that fight. I think she came on. We talked about it. That back end of that fight, she definitely came on and proved herself to be the champion. Was absolutely laying the punishment in those 4th and 5th rounds. Potentially in the 5th, shouldn't have taken that fight to the ground. Kind of got caught up there and really couldn't push that advantage, whereas she was dominating the feet in that 4th. So maybe could have looked for more punishment and a finish in the 5th. But either way, big props to Santos for not getting murdered in the first round. And kind of maybe gives Valentina something to look forward to, a challenge in that division, because she's lacked it.
First time she's been tested in a long time, right?
Yeah.
Do we have to stop sleeping on these female challenges? We saw it with
Not quite yet. She didn't win, but...
Yeah, well... Juliana Pena won.
It's not as one-sided.
And Carla Esperanza won. True. And, when Nunes lost to Pena, no one saw that coming. She was rank outsider. Maybe we've got to give a little bit more credit to these outside female fighters.
I hate to say it, but I kind of think that Nunes' loss was more on her than her competition.
Okay.
I think she came into that fight very unders and unmotivated. So we'll have to see what that looks like now that she doesn't have the belt and when she comes back.
In other news, Sean has also called out Juliana Pena to 1-on-1.
As long as it's a wrestling match.
I'm still going Pena.
No.
Yeah, I'll probably lose, but hey.
It's a pronunciation match. God damn it.
Pena.
Damn it. Just being talk English.
I don't, English isn't a natural language. You'd probably still beat me.
Exactly.
That's a bit of chat.
Speaking of difficult names to pronounce, the next one on the card.
Yeah. So Zhang Wei Li, I think we're close there, although there's some conjecture around the first name, against Joanna Jedrzejczyk.
Anyway,
It's the Dre check.
Jedrzejczyk.
this was a highlight finish. This was happening just as we arrived, wasn't it? The spinning back fist.
Slash
From-
from the end of the floor.
Kind of
Yeah,
probably more forearm, but
Forearm, wrist, yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
spinning at least. And caught Joanna right on the ear.
Yeah.
Slash temple.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was 1 and a bit rounds in. And
Yep,
so
in the second round.
That was the segue that I was trying to set up before.
this
and
was
I
the second.
forgot about the co-main event.
This was these two ladies'
jumped
second
all
go
over
at
the
it,
place.
and the first one was an absolute war, and long time since Joanna last fought.
Yeah, that was the last fight.
And
there.
as we mentioned at the top of the podcast, leaving her gloves in the ring, leaving it all behind onto the next stage of her life. Zhang, top contender, is she, or a previous champion?
Who's got that
obviously,
belt in that division at the moment? Because didn't Rose just lose it?
Carla Esperanza.
Yeah, so
Of-
she probably second.
was on Kentucky with Trent Naden fame. Who
Trent or Brent?
who's
Trent
not
or Brent?
of not Brent Naden fame.
but
Yes.
so what? Zhang's
Yeah.
probably put her name
Yeah, she's second.
up in there for a title shot coming up soon.
Yep. Yeah, maybe they run it back with Thug first, but if not, she'd be second, I'd say, in that division.
Yeah. She's listed second at the moment. So,
There you go.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that would have been updated for today's fights just yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it'd bump her
Probably not,
above
but-
Rose, but it puts her in the conversation if they don't want to run
certainly.
it back with Rose. Like if they want to say, "Hey, Rose, you got to go take a fight somewhere," maybe that's the fight. It's Rose and Wei. But if not, then
That Esperanza Namajunas fight was also infamously boring.
yes. Yeah, so running that back is probably unlikely. So yeah, she's probably in that
yeah.
title contention.
Yeah, I think Esperanza Wei makes sense.
Yep. Agree
Yeah.
on that.
And were you watching the fights before we arrived, Monks? Were you watching this next one? Or?
Yeah, how did our Aussie boys go?
A little bit, yeah. So I guess the breaking news from yesterday was Rodrigo Bontorin had to pull out of his fight with Manuel Cape. This is actually a fight that was set up last year or the year before, I think. Had to pull out from injury. I think Cape pulled out for injuries that time. But they had to scrap the fight because Bontorin wasn't able to cut enough weight. He was about 2 kilos off. Had to be hospitalised with some kidney issues.
His weight cut led to the kidney
Damn.
issues
Yeah.
and
That's crazy.
the renal problem there probably led to the fact that he couldn't cut the weight. And
Yeah.
that's not what we want.
Yeah, so I had to call off the weight cut, I guess, and he was hospitalised for that.
Jeez.
So unfortunate for him. Hopefully, he makes a full recovery, and they can set this fight up again soon.
So both Aussies made it on the main card.
Yeah. So because
And
of
both
this, they promoted the Jake Matthews, Andre Fiallo. I think I've got that right.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Fight up into the main card. So that was a card that happened just before Whaley and Jedrzejczyk. Jake looked great. So he's had some time out of the ring. Looks like I hadn't seen him in a while, but it looked like he'd been tatted up with all the Celtic
Spent the time
bands
at the
around his
ring
arm.
in the tattoo parlour, did he?
That's it, yeah. But besides the tats, looked good. Looked good with the tats as well. He did look like he was in a little bit of trouble getting out of the first round. Andre got a knockdown and sort of covered him and was on top for a little bit, but bell rung, so they were able to escape that. And then, just got straight back into it early in the second round, started picking Andre apart with his striking, and got the knockout halfway through the second round. So he goes to 18-5 now, 6 wins by knockout.
Impressive.
So real good. Hopefully, he can get a few more fights and start climbing the ranks there as well.
So from Jack to Jack, how did the other Aussie welterweight go?
Caught the back end of this fight. He won.
Method?
Knockout.
Punches
So
as well, I think.
yeah. So this one ended in the first round, about halfway through again as well.
Quick finish.
Yeah, I think it just came in swinging. Was able to get the knockout quick.
Nice.
Don't really have too much more to say about that one.
Are those two both ranked, or are they still outside?
Nah,
the 15?
both unranked, I believe.
Yeah.
But you'd think maybe Matthews would be going close, if not both.
18-5 is a good record with 6 wins by knockout. Knocking on the door, you think? But some news confirmed coming up. Future fight.
Big fight.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So this one I think must have been some breaking news during the fight card. But Usman and Leon Edwards' fight has been confirmed for the 20th of August. I'm not sure what UFC fight that would make it.
7 or 8.
Edwards kind of been sniffing around for a title shot for a little while, hasn't he?
It's about time for him.
Actually, yeah, UFC 278.
And he's probably the only one Usman hasn't had a title defense against, so
correct.
Makes sense. But
Well, they jump over the radioactive hazmat man. They skip over that one after his win over Burns because there's been a lot of chat that he'd get that fight. But it's
He got
I think
work.
Edwards
He got
is
work.
fair. I think Edwards is
Burns fight.
fair
Yeah,
because
I
he's
think
been
so too.
in that position for a very long time. And I think our boy Whitaker was at that fight too.
Yep, he was. Yep.
And they've rebooked his Vittori fight to September.
Oh, nice.
okay, cool.
So that'll probably because Izzy's got Cannoneer coming up.
All right.
So that'll be. I assume that fight for him, Rob will be for the number 1 contender.
Gotcha.
And we'll get probably the winner of that Izzy fight.
All right. Is that UFC?
Yeah.
Wrapped up?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of boxing news. We just mentioned the Sydney wants to host the rematch for that the boxing fight that Hani won during the week from our man Kambosos. So I think it's probably unlikely since I believe he's a Yank, so that's probably going to happen on home turf for him.
Right.
They can try and maybe throw a fuckload of money at him to get it to happen, but I doubt it. I'd say that happens over there. Justin Herney, I think, fights Wednesday night, and I believe there's a welterweight fight for an Aussie on that too, that card coming up. But for Justin, if he wins it, hopefully that'll put him in the heavyweight conversation for moving to the US and potentially getting a big name coming up. But that's Wednesday night. They were promoting that during the NRL, which annoyed NRL fans that aren't boxing or Greyhounds fans for their poor cross promotion coming up.
Into the F1.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk F1. I'll keep going.
Yeah,
Do you want to see if you can find any news on that Perez story?
Yeah, I'm just trying to bring that up now.
I'll cover the other stuff. There's because we're in Baku street circuit
Tonight?
Tonight, 9 o'clock. Qualifying happened last night. Red Bull Ferrari battle continues. That's all the chat. Leclerc again on pole, I believe, with Sainz third, and I think they're 1-3 and 2-4 again, aren't they? I can't remember off the top of my head. I just know the McLarens did poorly. Our boy Danny Rick in 13th.
Okay.
Lando
Kind
I
of where
think,
he's been most of the season,
yeah,
right?
Lando starting 12th, so they look down on speed on the long straight of Baku, so they're going to struggle. I know Mercedes as well is struggling with pace on that straight, whereas the Red Bulls are very, very quick. So we'll see if they can push the Ferraris in this one. They've all been struggling with the porpoising because it is a street circuit, a bit bumpy, but then also that top speed with the ground effects, cars bouncing up and down, and
Long straight, you were saying,
very,
pre-potty.
very long. As in they hit max speed and then hold max speed for a very long time as well.
And porpoise at max speed.
Yeah. Yes. Bounce. We'll see if the cars last
There's
the full
some-
2 hours. That is the
Okay.
question.
Bit of mayhem you're
It
predicting.
could be a bit of mayhem.
Interesting.
I think was it George Russell or was it one of the Williams last year? They hit a drain last year on the bottom of the car and the whole back end of the car basically.
Wow.
Oh,
All the
dang.
carbon fiber just went. So yeah, it's that kind of conversation of the street circuits and some of the racetracks, especially trying to create a new street circuit in Las Vegas, has got the chat going. And I only brought this in here for the fact that Seb Vettel, world champion 4 times in a row, said, hey, I'd prefer to go somewhere like where the historical tracks are. I'd like to rather go to Bathurst. That was his quote. And I'd love to see an F1 race at Bathurst.
Come on down.
With the concrete walls and that kind of
That
track.
would be
The mountain.
How do they go up the hill?
Yeah.
No chance.
It's
Probably
never
coming
gonna-
down the hill, that'd be the hard part.
No fucking chance.
Yeah. of
it's,
course not.
It's a great racetrack, beautiful racetrack, but yeah, the money in trying to get people to go to Bathurst versus where they go to in Melbourne.
Slightly different crowd, I think. For
But-
F1 to,
Yeah, exactly. And compared to Vegas, yeah, it's never going to happen. But it was an interesting take to like, hey, let's go to our more historic racetracks that are
Right.
specialized racetracks versus trying to create street circuits down the straight of the
strip at Vegas,
in
yeah.
Vegas, and yeah.
What's going on with Charles Leclerc? He has had pole. He's got pole for tonight in Baku. Had pole the last 3 times and hasn't been able to make use of it.
Yeah, it was pit strategy in Monaco, engine failure in Barcelona. I think he won the following that previous race before that. But yeah, he's been he's been first or second in every race so far. He's just been unlucky either with pit strategy or car reliability so far. Or Max has just been slightly faster and winning those races. So it is a very tight battle. I think between him. So we've got Max is 1, you got Leclerc is 2nd, and Perez is now 3rd. And I think there's 10, 15 points between 1st and 3rd currently in the championship. So those 3 are all over 100. And I think Russell's probably 4th with his consistency at the moment. So
Yeah, you spot on there off the top of the head. Max is first, 125 points into Leclerc, 116. Perez third, 110, and then a big drop down to George Russell there in 4th spot.
So that chat about Max's father last week, you got to prioritise Max over Perez because Perez he's in that conversation now and he's there.
Lewis in
fighting.
6th.
He's been struggling.
He's miles behind, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been struggling with the changes and we talk about Danny Rick struggling with the new car and the setup. Yeah, Lewis also
Best
has
finish of 3rd in the first race of the year, but nothing else
Lewis
on the podium.
Yeah, Lewis definitely been struggling with his car of late, and Mercedes struggling with their car overall. I think this street circuit Baku doesn't suit them. I think it suits the Red Bulls more than anyone, maybe the Ferraris, and we'll see how that goes come race time tonight. Did you get that Perez story? Speaking of Perez, celebrating his signing and winning during the week.
He's been a very naughty boy.
Naughty boy.
That's it. Before I go into Perez, I'll touch on with Leclerc. I think this is the first time that a driver has gone back-to-back pole positions at Baku.
Yes.
So I think he got pole last year. So
but didn't Perez win the race last year?
I can't
Baku?
remember.
I think he
Back-to-back pole positions. So
Back to Baku.
yeah.
Or did Max win last year's one? I can't remember.
I can't remember. I just
I know
remember
Perez-
Hamilton had that massive lock-up
Oh,
in the
lock up.
restart.
And then a Red Bull took him over. I couldn't
Yeah.
remember.
No,
if Max-
Max, no, he crashed out.
and yeah, there. So
Yeah.
Perez won. Yeah, there you go.
Confirm. Well done, Sean.
What else has Perez been up to?
Bit
Probably a little bit handsy, a little bit of that Urban Myers vibe, getting caught out.
You don't want those vibes. You don't want those vibes.
No. So yeah, there's been some snaps of him partying with a lady that is not his wife.
Very lovely lady.
Getting a little bit hands on, a little bit too close for comfort.
To quote the great movie The Ringer, hi, Lynn's boyfriend and not Lynn.
Yes. Yeah. And I think he's tried to make up for it, apologised. His wife and that are dealing with the circumstances. Very, very public exposure of. I think it's probably more Perez on the beverages and kind of getting a bit loose. He's a big star. The ladies are going to love him, and he's probably not going to say no in that situation.
You're going to find him away with a stick, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's got 3 kids with his wife. I don't think he thinks too major is going to happen there currently, but it's an interesting little tidbit coming off that, leading into another big Grand Prix. They're travelling all over the world, etc., etc. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Big race tonight in that competition for Ferrari and Red Bull. Be interesting to see how far the cars go and whether they last.
Yeah, that's it.
Exciting stuff.
Probably the last thing to wrap up F1, just a little bit of rumour mill. Our boy Oscar Pisari Piastri. Yeah, one of those three, probably.
Yeah,
Pronunciation. So he's
it's not always me, bro. That's why James doesn't talk half the podcast.
I had it right before podcast.
Get the fatigue, the podcast fatigue.
That's it. So reserve driver for Alpine. There's been rumours that he may be loaned out to Williams. Williams.
So they're going to boot Latifi during the season.
Getting a little bit impatient with Latifi, having a few crashes, not really performing.
He's a bit senior as well in that team, isn't he?
Well, Alex Albon's there taking up the other spot.
Yeah, he's super young, but I thought Latifi's been in F1 for a hot minute.
A few years, yeah.
Oscar, potentially the future. There's been chat about him, of course, winning F2 last year.
Yeah,
needs a drive, and
needs a drive. So, and then with Esteban Ocon still under contract and Alonso still doing Alonso things. There's not really a spot for him as a driver for Alpine.
There had been chat about McLaren punting Danny Richter in the middle of the season. I don't think they'll do that to him. If they're going to do it, it'll be post this season. But the potential some spots opening up for Oscar going forward, and we'll have to see. It'd be good to see him get a drive this year. Where did Zoe qualify? Because he was fifth in FP2, and I didn't watch the final Q3.
Who?
The Chinese driver, as in the only rookie I think on the this year.
Yeah, he qualified 14th.
Nope. Anyway,
Very Zhu as well.
Zhu.
Yeah.
F1 done?
Yep, that's F1 done.
Let's talk some Socceroos, boys.
Yeah, so Socceroos got a do or die win over the United Arab Emirates. It was a bit back and forth. The first half, the Socceroos kind of dominated, but without any success on goals. And then Jackson Irvine, who's put together a very good season at St. Pauli there in the Bundesliga 2. He scored first for the Socceroos in the 53rd minute, and then it was a quick reply from the Emiratis. And here's a name that the boys need to get familiar with in Aiden Hrustic. He's played for Eintracht Frankfurt, who won the Europa League this year. The Magoos of the Champions League. He's very good. He takes the set pieces for the Socceroos, and he had a really nice match winner there in the 84th to get us through the Emiratis. And now we take on Peru. It is Tuesday morning at 4 a.m. elite viewing time there, but it's one game, do or die, over in Qatar. And I do wonder how the Peruvians will adjust to playing in Qatar and the heat.
It's the hot time of year there.
I think it was. They said the daytime temperature was 46.
Yuck.
Was 46,
wow.
and when they.
But it's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat, and at kickoff at 8 p.m. or whenever it was over there, a measly 35. So yeah.
How many drinks breaks are they doing, bro?
It's half time, full time, and that's it. So it'd be interesting to see how Peru go. They finished fifth in South America, edging out the likes of Colombia. Some big name Colombians. Looking at this Peruvian team though, no one's at per se big clubs in Europe, but a lot of them do play in Peru. Universitario, Alianza Lima. So a few of them play together, and then a lot of them's kind of sprinkled around the MLS, Saudi, and Emirati leagues. It's do or die. We did play Peru, I think, in 2018 in the World Cup, and went down to them. And it's very interesting that the group that the winners will go to includes France and Denmark, which was the other two teams in the 2018. In the 2018 group. So
run it back.
Run it back, baby. Run it back. So do or die for the Socceroos. 4 a.m. Tuesday. If anyone starts work early and just, you're gonna sacrifice another hour and a half. What's another hour and a half of shut eye on a Tuesday morning? Yeah. Get up and get around the Socceroos as we try to get to Qatar 2022 the hard way. New Zealand also play Costa Rica as well, so be interesting to see what happens there. Costa Rica on paper, pretty handy. I think I'd rather play Peru.
There you go.
Bit of tennis and golf to wrap it up.
Speaking of running it back,
Yes, so
dude who's run it back many, many times.
well now he's hands down GOAT. You have to say for now.
He's 2 ahead.
For now, he's 2 ahead. We are talking obviously about Rafael Nadal. 14 French Opens, if you don't mind. I think the next was Bjorn Borg with 6.
That's handy lead.
6.
Yeah.
That's a handy
Single
lead
digits,
either
yeah.
way.
He's well in front.
Yeah.
So the king of clay, absolute demolition of poor Casper Ruud.
Do you think they'd ever rename? It's in France. Would they
Would they name
rename
it
it
up?
after a Spanish guy?
Who is Roland Garros?
No clue.
He's probably an old French tennis player, I'd
But
imagine.
that's not that's not the name of the
Is it the
stadium?
I think it's
Is
the
that
area.
like the suburb or something
I
like
think so.
that? Or-
Yeah, Parisian geography, obviously, at the forefront of the Esky
They
boys.
probably have. Anyway,
They
Knowledge,
could probably one of the courts there, the French Open,
Was
they
a-
should name after him.
And
I
they
think.
should. Yeah, they should.
straight sets victory as he so often does. Yeah. What more is there to say about him? It's been said all before. He's done it once again.
I think the interesting quote post this was they asked him about the GOAT conversation and he's like, it doesn't matter to me. I think if you're in that position, you probably don't care about it. But he doesn't care. He doesn't care that Djokovic is chasing him and most likely will be able to win a bunch of tournaments and take that lead. Given
It's
his
probably
age as
only
well. So
3 to 4 weeks to Wimbledon. It wouldn't be long.
Yeah, it wouldn't be
I
long at
imagine.
all.
So, but it's 2 for 2 this year for Rafa, both Australian and French, and so see if he can make it 3 for 3 in a couple of weeks' time in Wimbledon. Extend that lead to 23.
how many Wimbledons has he won?
Wimbledon's.
Not heaps.
Well,
Because we're talking
I think he's
about
won 2 Oz, 2 Wimbledons, 4 US,
Yeah, there you go.
and then 14
Of the French.
French. So.
Get this guy on here. Jeez, seriously. Off the dome. Off the
I
dome.
just remember you had to figure out the
Quick-
8,
quick maths,
the
yeah.
8
How are you
difference.
gonna
I
divvy
knew
up
he'd
the
done 2 Oz, and just had a feeling he'd done more at the US than at the grass of Wimbledon.
Very well done.
Roger has tended to dominate the grass.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Everyone wrong on Roland Garros. Not a Parisian suburb, not a French tennis player, French aviator.
There you go.
From
We've all learned something today.
There we go. Died 1918. Was that war related? Oh, he was a fighter pilot.
He was one of the early fighter pilots for World War One.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's nice learning on the Esky, isn't it? Here, a little Sunday, long weekend. Have a few beers, a little bit of World War
14
One.
Grand Slams enough to usurp Roland Garros for the naming rights of the
I don't know.
the venue of the.
How many French Opens did Roland Garros win?
So
there
yeah, he
wouldn't
was.
be any French Opens without him. That's the challenge.
Yeah. If the rest of his countrymen didn't roll over and have to get saved by the rest of the world.
This is pretty crazy.
Your countrymen can talk.
Yeah. Bimini Bob, my countrymen are Aussies. When it suits.
And in this case, it definitely suits.
So he spent almost 3 years in captivity in a German POW camp. Somehow escaped, got back into flying. Was shot down and killed on the 5th of October 1918, 1 day before his 30th birthday.
There you go. That should be common knowledge.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
we've learnt it. Hopefully, all 8 of our listeners have learnt.
3 hours deep. Those who are still with us.
So all
That's
4
it.
of our listeners, the 4 at the table.
Finish with some golf and some interesting
Last one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some
last
huge
one.
news
happening in
huge
this space.
controversy.
Yeah. So there's Saudi-backed. I think they say Live Golf Series. Can you?
It's not Roman numerals or anything.
No. What is that? Is that 40,
54.
54? Yeah, 54. Yeah. Well, shout out.
It's Live Golf Series. Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
No, it's all good. It's just reminding me of a joke that Issa Schultz of Chase fame was making. regarding Roman numerals, but it's way too nerdy. I don't even want to talk about it. I want to talk about this breakaway golf league. It's akin to World Series cricket. Yep. It's akin to Super League. It's akin to we've got fuckloads of money. Who can we poach?
What was that soccer thing 2 years ago or something?
Oh yeah, it was a story for like the Super League.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Which in that vein, is it?
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's in that vein. So there's 42 players that are confirmed, and I need to reiterate, it's Saudi-backed golf league. They will play around the world. Yes. So a lot of people are saying, "Oh, geez, how many golf courses are there in fucking Saudi Arabia?"
Few sand traps around the place.
That's good. That's very good.
Well, they've got Greg Norman as the face.
He's
interesting.
The CEO. I believe. Old Big Dick Shark running the show, and they've already poached a few big names. Now, Phil Mickelson went this week, and he's in terms of career achievements, the biggest name. He's also getting on a little bit, but also he'd been quoted as saying some things that were untoward to the Saudi regime.
So he's come full circle, has he?
Yeah, that money talks, baby.
Come full circle.
Money talks.
There's a couple bags on the table.
Extra zero on the end, and suddenly the opinions change.
That's right.
Definitely.
I, for one, welcome our new overlords. But they've actually, in terms of like current kind of talent, Dustin Johnson, Kevin Na gone over there, Lee Westwood, and then sort of like older heads, but you know, major winners in Sergio Garcia, Louis Oosthuizen, Martin Kamer, Ian Poulter, all sign up for this tour, and the money is redonkulous.
Yeah. I think that's the important part is the money has to be redonkulous because the minute they started playing, PGA suspended them all.
You're done. Yep. So we've got
they've waited up and like, well, what can I make PGA tournament money and what am I getting paid big here? And they've gone, I'll take the bags and maybe I'll take the year off and then hopefully they'll sort some stuff out.
Yeah, and to be honest, if someone offered me the money that Phil Mickelson was
rumoured to be getting.
So when's this kind of rumoured to begin?
This weekend.
It's begun.
Yep, it should be.
Yeah, I think they've been doing
third
practice hits.
Where are they playing?
This week.
London. Yep.
Yeah, because I've been seeing the media have not been handled nicely by some of the no neck security, as they've been referred to as.
Is Java going to make an appearance?
I don't know. But the media trying to report on the guys trying to get in hits like Thursday and Friday, getting ready for this this tournament. Have not been handled too nicely. So be interested to see how it all plays out. But they've got big money and. I'm not sure who's televising it or what the kind of goal is long term, but
not sure. Yeah, just quickly back on Mickelson as well and the controversy from last year. His main sponsors both dropped him last year when he made those comments about Saudi Arabia, and then now he's playing back. Now he's playing in this golf series. So interesting how that's played out.
But
as well.
That's a huge fuck you from the Saudis.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like, well, it doesn't matter. We buy you. you basically white slave. Like, come on.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's all the zeros you need, and then you can do what we want.
Money.
Yeah.
Money. And that will conclude the episode of On The Esky. Thank you to those that are with us. What are we, nearly 3 hours deep?
3 hours deep, yep.
We will be back next week. Back next week. And then, I don't know, I've got to have a child sometime soon. So we'll see how we go moving forward. Thank you to those that have tuned in and have been following the show. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, we see some good sporting endeavours. Hopefully, as Aussies, the Socceroos get through to this World Cup.
Yeah, well, we've got NBA, we've got F1,
Yep.
we've got the Socceroos coming up. Of course, the rounds of footy in the AFL, cricket's going on.
Yeah,
plenty to cover as always.
Always plenty to talk about. Thank you for listening.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next week.
Good stuff.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.